Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And this morning, we bring you match day live as Tottenham host Crystal Palace, a.k.a. the Bald Eagles. And I'm actually feeling very, very confident about today's game. Joining us, we do have the one and only Paul from Down Under. How are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's match day, man. I want us to crush the bones of Crystal Palace. I want to see their wives in lament. Let's just destroy them 10-0, man.
Do you know what? I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling confident about this game. I really am.
Why the fuck not? We got nothing to play for. Let's just fucking have fun with it, man.
Exactly. And of course, we are joined by the one and only Mia. How you doing, my dear?
Not too bad. Paul, swearing within the first 5 minutes, man. Honestly, that's the monetisation out the window.
Oh, fuck me, man. Sorry. Sorry.
I'll be honest, I don't even think I put it on anyway, so I always forget.
No, but, Paul. You know Paul's coming on, Dave, so you know better, innit? Right.
I wish that was the case, Mia. I genuinely just do forget. I'd say Jack's probably pulling his hair out. But speaking of Jacko will be joining us very, very shortly, of course, getting up nice and early. So everyone, when he comes on, give him a shout. Sean,
he's busy looking at pictures of Nagelsmann as he can't join us at the moment. He's occupied, eh?
Yeah, he's pre-morning Nagelsmann. You know what I mean? I love it. But look, let's get into seeing what people are here to join us, and then we will crack on. Mia, Shawnee is in the chat. He says he wants to join. Is there any chance you can send him the link for us?
Yeah, of course I can. I will charge you, but it's all right. I'll charge you later, and I'll send you the bill.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
Shawnee. So,
Shawnee, that link is coming your way, my man. We've got Peter. He says, we are going to win today. Come on, you Spurs. Love that. We've got Phil Coy says, game day. Got a bad feeling about today's game. I think with the pace and tricky they have up top, like Zaha, Olise, and Eze, they will cause us problems. I'm going 2-1 Palace. Look, they will cause us problems. They have some very, very tricky players. However, we usually beat Palace, Phil. That's what I would say, my man. And look, no matter how shit we've been this season, we bet them 4-0 at their place. And I know different manager, etc., but I have a good feeling about today. Hopefully I'm not wrong. Big up, Washgal. Good to see you. She says, thanks.
Hey, Washgal.
Palace are resurgent under Roy. Greetings to all. Big up, Washgal. Hopefully you're keeping well. Good morning, Wayno. He says, hope you're all well and looking forward to our 2-0 or 3-1 victory over Palace.
I'm going to have a word with Wayne. He's back on the naughty step. You're in here, Wayne, but you said that you was working today and you couldn't make my stream. Bad. Terrible behaviour.
Wayno works really early. He probably has his work shift over and done with already. Man. We've got Wilson94. He says, let's show some passion and fire today. Every first and second ball we win and leave everything out on the pitch. Too many times we've been second best. Let's start strong. Guys. Big up, Wilson. Absolutely love that, my man. We've got Tony Rodriguez. He says 2-2 Forrester, Davies, Langley, Romero, Perisic, Sarr, Kulusevski, Skip, Paulo, Son, and Kane is his lineup today. Big up, Tony. Hope you are keeping well, sir. Jack Bloom, 2023. Good to see you, brother. Hopefully you're keeping well. We've also got Derek Smith. Good to see you, Derek. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. We have Rob Wallace. Big up, Rob. Haven't seen you in quite some time. I understand you're a busy boy. I just hope that life is treating you well, my man. Great to see you in the building. And we also have Ethan Robinson. Says, come on, Palace.
You gotta love them, ain't you? Come on, Palace. Fuck yeah. Crystal Palace fans. Brilliant.
And then we've got Godfrey Drummond says, morning panel, come on, you Spurs. Big up, Godfrey. And we've got Adrian Chia says, big up, lads. We'll turn up now. There's no pressure. I have the same feeling, to be honest with you. Now that sort of all the pressure is off, I expect us to turn up. But look, we need to win today, heading into Aston Villa next week, so that we can get Europa League, Adrian. So we really, really do need to win today. big yourself up, my man. And then we'll welcome in Dan E as well. Says, wow, who gives a shit if we beat Palace to just get a Conference League spot? Screw that. I'd rather finish 8th place. Simple as.
Fuck it, let's fucking win. Fucking win the game, man.
Do you know what? Like, look, I get the arguments about not being in Europe, etc., etc. But for me, you know, Tottenham has been synonymous, whatever you would say that word, with European football. You know, my old lad always spoke to me about the great nights of European football. And look, in reality, who are we to turn our nose up at any sort of European competition or any trophy in general? You know, we can't afford to pick and choose. But look, like I said, I do understand.
That's our level, isn't it? That's if that's our level, then that's what we got to compete against. And I don't care if it's, you know, against Sporting Boeing or Dynamo Kapow or whatever. Maybe our players need to get a bit more uncomfortable. And let's face it, the more games you play, the better you're going to be at football instead of riding an exercise bike or riding a remote control car around the golf course.
And so what else for me, Paul? It's like, if you're going to get the best at football, you need to play football. There's no point of just, like you say, if you're riding a bike, you don't go on one of those bikes that are still to learn to ride a bike, right? You need to ride the bike. So it's actually better for the team. Also, I think mentally, having that time in between is not good for them. I think it's good for them to have to make their brains work a bit harder, to make sure they're preparing for games quicker. It's good for them to have that as well, to make sure they're preparing better. Instead of being relaxed, oh, we've only got a week, we can chill out and relax. No, I don't want them to chill out and relax. I want them to be on point.
You're only talking about 2 football games a week as your fucking job. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Look, they owe us, but just give me 2 minutes. We've got Bobby K. Good evening, sir. Hopefully you are keeping well, my man. Good to see you in the building. Hopefully you and the young lads are keeping well. Big up Hennessy as well. Good to see you in the building, sir. And also Foggy Foam. Great to see you, my man. And we also have the one and only Mr. Butler in the back end. Let's bring him in. Also, Shawnee, how are you keeping, my man?
Always good when I get to spend some time with you lovely people. Hi, guys. Hi, Paul. Hi, Mia. How you guys doing?
Hello.
What's cracking?
I love it. As you can see, we've got a delectable panel here with us today, so that should be a lot of fun. And big up Carl Higgins as well. So what I'll do is I'm going to give everybody everything they need to know, and then we'll crack in and let's get talking about this game. Also, big up the Iceman and Eamon Burns as well. And Shawnee, just before we get going, Bobby K, he's got a really big question for you. He wants to know what day it is.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's game day! Come on!
Yeah, my earphones, that take them away from my ears, Sean, for goodness sakes, man.
You should know by now.
If neighbours were watching the coronation, they know exactly what day it is today. No coronation, it's game day. Love it. And also, big up.
Not Taku, my king. Baby. Hashtag not my king. Less of the politics.
Yeah, no politics. You can speak about that after. But look, everything you need to know, of course, we are home at the greatest stadium in world football. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. Referee is Darren England. In the VAR room is Neil Swarbrick. And then if you want to watch the game in the USA, it's on Peacock TV. And they're saying the game is not on in the UK and Ireland, but it is. Your boy has gone and done some deep diving. You can find that game on Premier Sports TV if you want to watch the game in the UK and Ireland. For the watch along, make sure you join us back here at 2:30 today. Myself, Jacko, and Sean, as always, enjoy the games together. Make sure you get back here and join us. For Tottenham, of course, Basuma's still out. Session's out. Bentancur is still out. Not back till November, as per reports during the week. And also, Hugo Lloris is out as well, alongside Emerson. For Palace, they're missing Amada, James Tompkins, Nathan Ferguson, and James McArthur. So, look, let's get into it. We'll start with you, Paul. We'll go around the houses. Paul, we have witnessed our team conceding the opening minutes of our last 3 games, but in our last 2, we have shown some fighting spirit at least. What sort of performance do you think that Tottenham fans can expect from this team today?
Oh, fucking hell, man. I mean, just go and play from when the whistle goes. I mean, isn't that what you do in football? It just staggers my mind how so many times this season we've just not kicked off from the kickoff, and we fucked about. We thought we were a bit cleverer than we are, and sometimes it's taken till the second half for us to get going. So, I mean, what can we expect? Who the fuck knows? But it'd be just nice to see them fucking play, wouldn't it? Just fucking play football.
I think that's what we all want to see, right, Mia?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to see us conceding goals early on. Like, that is not acceptable. I want us to show that fight from the beginning. Like, I just want us to fight like we do when we do concede the goals. I want us to fight from the beginning and not let those goals go in. That's what all I want to see.
For sure. And Shawnee, you know, what performance do you think we can expect today?
Mate, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it'll be high scoring. I wouldn't put it past them to score early. I wouldn't put it past it to be, like a 3-2 thriller. Palace are playing really good football at the moment under Roy. I think Tottenham under Mason, although we haven't got a win yet, I do think it's been, generally speaking, I think the football's bit, apart from the first, if you could like start the game in the 20-minute mark, I think, Tottenham, people will be reflecting on some really, really nice stuff. Like the first goal we scored against Liverpool was like world-class football, the way we passed it around. It was absolutely delicious, delectable stuff. And listen, I'm not making making a claim or any kind of case for Ryan Mason here, but I just, I think that we can play good football, and we have played good football. It's just about being resolute and organised and confident at the back, and that is something that is easier said than done with some of the players we have. Sorry, I'm rambling on. To answer your question, what am I expecting? I'm expecting goals. I'm expecting possibly a frustrating start, similar to what we've had over the last two games. But I think that kind of. I think European football's done anyway, to be entirely honest. People saying, do you still want to fight for the Conference League? Even if we fought for it, I don't think we're going to get it. I think that there's teams around us that have got more games in hand, that are doing better, that are playing better, that deserve it more than us. And I think that I don't necessarily think it will help us anyway. So, but when the shackles are off, Tottenham usually come out and impress. So good game coming up, I think.
Yeah, let's wait and see what happens. I mean, I know Ryan Mason was asked about maybe switching to a back four in his pre-match press conference, which we'll get on to. So it'll be interesting to see if that does happen, but we'll get on to that in a few minutes. But Paul, is there anything, and Sean, Mia, feel free to just come in on this as well. Is there anything that this squad can do over the next 4 games to give fans maybe some optimism heading into the summer? Because, the mood around Tottenham right now is it's very grim, it's very down. Is there anything they can do, or is it just a matter of just getting the season over?
I think it is just getting the season over, and you know what? Even though I always want us to win every game, but if like we win a few games and Eric Dyer had a few good games and got a new contract, it's kicking the can down the road a bit. But I'm hoping look, we're not really playing for anything. Just want to see them express themselves as footballers, Just have fun. I want to see the players going out there and enjoying the game of football with passion and fighting for it. And we just haven't seen that at all this year. They've been scared, on the back foot, not giving a fuck, all these kinds of things. You want to see people having good experiences out there.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm one of them. I think, it's too little, too late. However, if Son can continue on his form between now and the end of the season,
fair enough. Yeah, that's true.
Puts aside the talk of maybe, is he finished? Do we need to sell him, etc.? I think if Romero could gather himself for the next 4 days, it might quiet a bit of talk around him. I think if Porro can have a good end to the season, it might give fans a bit more confidence in him. It'd be nice to see maybe Kulu string a couple of games together. It'd be nice to see Richarlison maybe hit the back of the net a few times. I think there are certain things that individuals can do to maybe quell the noise around them. But as a team, I'm not sure there's anything they can do that's going to give me any optimism.
You've mentioned all the players we like there. I mean, would you like relishing a few good performances by Eric Dyer as much or not? Or you just think, oh, fucking hell, he's doing it again?
You know what it is? For me, there's nothing that guy can do to convince me that he's good enough for Tottenham.
Yeah, that's true, man.
You know? Look, at the end of the day, I need 4 good performances from him because I want European football, and I hope that does happen. But for me, I think with Eric Dyer, it's just come past the point that there's nothing he can really do over the next 4 games that's going to make me sit here over the summer and say we need to keep Eric Dyer, you know. Whereas I do think there's things that other individual players can do that will maybe, in my opinion, you know, maybe quieten down a bit of talk around them and stuff like that. So let's wait and see what happens there. Sean, anything you want to say on that before we move on?
No, I'm good.
No, I think I agree. I think just for their confidence, it would be good to have a good finish. Like, you don't want to go out with a whimper. You don't want to be that team that, you know, go out and can't be asked in the next 4 games. I feel like they need to show what they're made of, show their passion, show their desire, because that's what you want from your players. Because coming into next season, some of those players are going to still be here. So it's not going to look very good for them if they don't give that passion and desire. You know, I think it's important to do that, to show that you actually give a damn.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. It'd be nice to see some players actually show that they do care. You're absolutely spot on there. Just quickly, big up Nomad as well. Big up EK. Good to see you. Great to see you, Derek Hutchinson, and also Stevie Fraser coming into the building as well. And the one and only Simon Cohen. Hopefully life is treating you well, my man. Good to see you in the building, sir. But look, Shawnee, we'll start with you on this one. Ryan Mason confirmed in his pre-match press conference that Hugo Lloris is ruled out for the rest of the season with injury. After making such high-profile errors this season, he's, of course, 36 years of age as well, and Tottenham are actively looking to strengthen in that department this summer. Has Hugo Lloris played his last ever game for Tottenham already?
Yeah, I think he has, yeah. The only hesitation I have is what happens with Fraser Foster and how much money are we going to have? Like, I was doing some rudimentary maths that in terms of budgets, right? And if we're going to tear up Ndombele's contract, which we might do, then that's going to cost you an extra 20 million quid up front. You pay that out. Maybe you can organise the deal with Ndombele and pay him out over the course of his contract. But essentially, it's 20 million hit. If you're going to go and buy or get Nagelsmann in, and if it's true that he's on gardening leave and that you have to buy him out of the contract at Bayern Munich, then that's an extra 30 million quid. If you're going to want to go and get this director of football from the 777 partners or whatever they're called, Spores, Johan Spores, that will have some sort of structural pay that you didn't expect, you didn't anticipate. If you're going to also maybe tear up the contract of Sanchez, who's only got a year left, to make room for the, bearing in mind that you've already got 8 players out on loan, you're not going to, either you're going to have to tear up a lot of contracts, or you're going to have to find cheap deals for some of these people or give them away for free, like what they did with Matt Doherty. And I can just already imagine. Plus, you've got to pay for Pedro Porro 40 million quid. I know these things are all amortized, but just go with the kind of the basic stuff. Plus, you've got to pay for Kulu money as well, right? So that's 30 million quid. So you're looking at circa like 120 million quid in costs for players we already have, or players that we don't want and can't sell and want to free up space in the squad so that we can send, potentially, if you can't sell any players in the current squad to make room for new ones coming in, you need to put them out on loan. But in order to do that, you need to get rid of players that are already out on loan. And so you're looking at like massive hits. And if Tottenham need to go through the priority list around, what's going to happen with regards, finding new players coming in, you'd imagine that with all the rumours that there's at least 2 centre-backs and maybe a forward coming in. You've also, like, you've done what you're going to do with Dan Juma. Lucas Moura's going. So you're going to have to find another forward to make those numbers up. Ultimately, back to my point, so I'm rambling again. It's really bad start to my rambles this morning. But how much money is there going to be left for a David Raya or for whatever? And he's going to cost 40 million quid. And so the only reason why I don't necessarily know if Hugo Lloris has played his last game for Tottenham is in a scenario where all this money is needed and there's just not that much money to go around, factoring in the fact we're probably not going to have European football, then is he by default going to have to hang around and be a participant next season? Has he played his last game this season? 100%. Not because he's injured. I don't believe he is, but because he embarrassed himself when he threw the towel in. But there is an outside chance that Tottenham might not have enough budget to be able to go and do all of the things that they need to do in the summer. And that includes a goalkeeper.
Interesting. Look, for me, I think when it comes to Hugo, I think he has played his last game. I think something went down in that dressing room. I don't really believe the injury story. And if my theory is correct that something did go down, I don't think you'll see him here too long into the summer, to be honest. However, I do take your point, Sean, that we're not a club that's going to find 300 million to be able to sort this mess out. So, even if
they go and get the last 50 million quid, that 50 million quid that they didn't take from the 150 million, and that Daniel Levy said in January that he was gonna give to the club. That doesn't even cover like half of Ndombele. Oh, sorry, it covers Ndombele, but it doesn't cover Ndombele plus the players we've already got to pay for. So I just don't know where the money's going to come from. Sorry, Dave, I'm interrupting you.
No, look, I think it's a valid point. However, for me, I think they've got to find the money from somewhere. I think, they really have, this summer to sort it out, or, you already see.
It's no excuse. You can't say, oh, look, because we fucked up so much buying all these players and we've got to write them off now. We haven't got the money to fix it. It's not good enough. They owe us.
Fair point.
The only thing I would say is that if we sell a certain Harry Kane, don't say it too loudly, that's obviously something that can help with the funding of other players and obviously with things like that, Sean. That's the only thing I would say as a caveat.
You're right, Mia. And that might be an issue that we have to come to terms with. That if you do want to rebuild the squad and also get rid of the deadwood and also find players that we need in all those positions, plus sort out all the loans and all the players that we don't need that we can't sell. Unfortunately, to Mia's point, money doesn't grow on trees. And to Paul's point, they do owe us. But how do you square that circle? Like, the obvious answer is if Harry Kane turns around and says, I am out of here, I've had enough, let me go or I will leave on a free. Then if Man United or someone else comes in and gives 100 million quid, I think maybe you have to go, all right then, okay. I hate it. I hate the situation we're in, but I feel like that might be a reality.
If Kane doesn't want to sign a new contract, I think you might have to look at the possibility of trying to cash in on him. However, if he does want to stay, for me, you don't sell Harry Kane because you're sort of creating a bigger problem, up front. And that's just the reality of it. You may get some players to chip in, but you ain't going to chip in with what Harry Kane has chipped in with every single season. So for me, I think if he wants to go, fair enough. I think you might actually have to look at trying to raise some cash for him because ideally, you want something back for everything that you put into the guy and his career and everything else. But, if he wants to stay, for me, they're going to have to find that money from somewhere else if you want me to be brutally honest. But look, where does Hugo Lloris stack up with goalkeepers at Tottenham? Because look, despite him being absolutely shambolic this season, I think it has sort of, maybe clouded what the service that he's given Tottenham and the top service that he's given this football club. So where does he stack up in terms of goalkeepers that we've had at this club? I'm going to start with you on this one, Mia.
I think he's been one of our best ones. I'm going to be honest. I saw Paul Walker play in goal for us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen Ian Walker, sorry. I've seen some. I've seen some pretty crappy ones, to be fair. So I think actually, when you look at the grander scheme of things, you can't go just by the end of their reign of like when they've been here. I feel like that you have to sort of judge it in a fair manner, and I feel like he has done a lot for the club, and he has definitely been one of our better keepers. If I'm completely honest, definitely for me anyway, from what I've seen. Anyway, obviously there's been other keepers in our past that I haven't seen with my own eyes, but from what I've actually watched in my time, I feel like he has been a good keeper.
Jack's sitting there banging his head off the wall right now. You know how he feels about Hugo. But you know what, me, I agree. I think he's given absolutely tremendous service to Tottenham. Paul, where are you at with Hugo Lloris?
I don't know. Like I've seen some good keepers. Like I saw Ray Clements, and he was pretty good between the pace.
Yeah, Ray Clements was awesome.
And then after that, like we had a bit of a lull, but we had Eric Torsfeld, who was a great goalkeeper, and Paul Robinson, Brad Friedel.
Do you remember Espen Bardson?
Yeah.
The greatest shot stopper. He couldn't do anything else. He could not do anything else. But he was one of the best shot stoppers that I've ever seen. Unbelievable ability to get his hand down, but couldn't catch the ball, couldn't pass it, couldn't throw it, couldn't do anything.
Yeah, but
Paul Robinson was all right as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, Hugo. I mean, it's hard to say where he'll stand because we didn't win anything, and he's ending it so badly. But is that his fault? You know, we've hung on to him for too long. Maybe we've done it on the cheap again. So, but for me, like when I think of good goalkeepers, like I would put Eric Torsfeld above Hugo any day. You know, and not that Eric was a better keeper, but somehow his presence or something about the team at that time was better than Hugo's reign.
Yeah, look, for me, I think in my lifetime, obviously, I know you've got Pat Jennings there and stuff like that, but for me, in my lifetime, I think Hugo Lloris has been the best keeper I've seen in the nets. You know, look, Gomez, I actually like Gomez. I think he's done a decent job for Tottenham for a while. Paul Robinson was a good servant, but for me, Hugo Lloris, I thought was absolutely outstanding for a number of years. Unfortunately, with what sort of transpired this season, it sort of is overshadowing the service he gave us. But the guy, I think, has been absolutely phenomenal in the nets for Tottenham and has given phenomenal service. However, it is time to go with Hugo Lloris. There's no more hanging on. And Jacko's in here. He says she's not leading us, Stevie, and it's showing. And Moondog, good afternoon.
What's Stevie on about? No one since Clements and Jennings. I said Clements. I mentioned Clements, didn't I? So,
no, he's probably talking to me yet, Paul. You know,
right.
The younger generation. Moondog says, good afternoon. 3-1 to us, but I know nothing. Moondog.
You know everything, Moondog. Let's go.
Let me know if you've got any bets on, my man. Absolute legend. Good to see you this morning, Moondog. By the way, if you've any more like commemorative pieces you want to make me, do let me know, brother. I absolutely love them. I love them. Big yourself up, my man. But look, let's go in and start talking about this back line because, I pulled up some stats and they're absolutely...
Come on, man.
No,
I'm trying to get bored of talking about.
Do you not get bored about talking about it? Jeez,
do you know what? I don't. It's my favorite subject. It's my favorite subject. These guys aren't good enough, and if Tottenham are to progress, it has to be sorted out. And look, what I want to know about you guys, of you guys is, look, Tottenham have conceded a league high 13 goals in the opening 15 minutes of their league matches this term, with more than half of these coming in the last 3 games against Newcastle United and Liverpool. Slow starts and starting games on the front foot wasn't just a Conte problem. And it wasn't just down to his tactics and how he set up, because the same thing has happened under Stellini. It's happening under Mason as well. What is the problem with this? Is it personal? Is it just simply down to personnel in that back line? Or is it actually a deep-rooted issue that's embedded into the whole team? And how do we sort this out going into next summer? Or going into the summer? Anyone?
Who are you asking?
Whoever wants it, whoever's hungry, whoever wants
it. What I thought in my head, like opposition teams know for sure if they run at Eric Dyer, if they run at him, they'll beat him, and they might get a shot off, and that gives them that confidence in the first 5 minutes. Before things have settled down a bit or whatever, they know from the get-go. You run at Eric Dyer, you run at our right back, Pedro Porro, whatever. You're going to have a chance of getting it in. So, until we sort that out, it's a weakness for us. That's it.
Do you know what my honest belief is? Is that I feel like that it doesn't help because we try and play out from the back, and when we play at the back with Hugo's like a bit nervous. He makes the other players nervous, which then it feeds into them as well. And then we haven't got anybody at the moment in midfield who can just take the ball with confidence and just go with the ball or pass the ball, even in like when you watch City do it, they get out of those tight spaces so well because they're all confident on that ball. And it just feels like we've got no one even in midfield who's confident to take the ball like confidently and take somebody on or pass it quickly and be confident in their passing. So I think it's a problem from Hugo to the midfield as well. So it's the back line and that midfield who don't want to take that ball. And I feel like that's another problem when we play out from the back and it shows. And then, like Paul said, players know if they press us a little bit, it's easy to press us. Absolutely easy.
No consequence. It's at no consequence. You can press Eric Dyer and you're going to come off injury-free, scot-free because he isn't going to lay a finger on you. At least with a decent defender, even if they miss the tackle, they don't time it right or you skin them, they'll let you know they're about. Our defence does not do that apart from maybe Romero when he's on the change a little bit.
But like I say, Paul, it isn't just the defence that get the ball taken off them. It's the midfield as well. We get pressed in the midfield and none of our midfielders are strong enough to just take that ball and be able to carry it or pass it quickly to see that pass and know they can confidently get it to another player. So I feel like it's a problem from the back to the middle as well. I feel like all of it's a bit of an issue.
Do you know what, me? I'd actually extend that further, and I'll go even into the forward line. How many times has the ball gone into Kulu early last week? Kane gone into early last week. So got bowled over off one ball and led straight to a Newcastle goal. So are you saying then, me, you think it's more of a whole team issue rather than, or it's both? It's personnel and
both. I think it's both. I've got to be honest. I do think it's both. Yeah, I think it is a bit of both.
It spreads through, doesn't it? It spreads through.
Yeah,
where that's come from, I don't know, but there's something in the fabric of Tottenham that is weak.
So how do we fix the issue then? Because, look,
there's a big bastard in there, man.
Not all these guys are going to go. You're still going to have personnel from this season out there next season, and we can't start off games like that. So how do we solve it?
Because we're going to have Bentancur. Sorry.
Go on, Mia. Sorry, mate. No, go on, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we have a Bentancur back, that's another, and get someone else in the midfield who's confident, get people at the back that are confident, another defender that's confident on the ball at feet, get a goalkeeper that's reassured, that's confident. That confidence will spread through the team, and it will, because I feel like that it will give us that kind of feeling where we can confidently get out of those situations and not panic, because at the moment we go into panic mode. The minute that it happens, we're panicking. So I feel like that having Bentancur, maybe someone else who's confident in midfield with the ball at feet, I feel is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think confidence is the key word. And Mia said it there. I think that confidence breeds confidence, and we have no leaders that infect the rest of the team at the back, right? So I think you need a goalkeeper that is calm under pressure, that's composed, and I think that can handle the ball when it's put himself into a tight space and release the ball. That would be a keystone into like building that ethos throughout the team. But I also think that we don't have a leader that has any confidence and any composure and any positional discipline at the back at the moment, and I'll include Romero in that. I know he's the best at what we have, but I think that he himself needs somebody next to him. He's rash, he's a loose cannon, I don't want to train that stuff out of him necessarily, although I think that his propensity to slide in unnecessarily has cost us many goals or many moments in games. I think that he needs someone next to him who exudes confidence, exudes leadership, that has the ability to look after and handle his own game, but also command and dictate what else is going on. Eric Dyer pointing his fingers and shouting at everybody else whilst not doing his own job is absolutely shambolic. But I think he also is the victim of having absolutely no confidence. At the moment, you have to these people are human. And the pressure of being in front of 60,000 people when you've just made a mistake and then you make another mistake. Against Liverpool, he should have been hooked at 20 on the 20th minute. I know we came back in the game, but you saw even after we were 3-0 down, the next time the ball came to him, he didn't want it. He didn't want anything to do with it because his confidence was rock bottom. You go out and you buy someone like an Aymeric Laporte, you convince him to come to Tottenham and you put that guy with the left foot. He is a born leader. He's been there. He's done it. He is one of the most composed defenders in the game. You put Romero next to him, and Romero becomes a more calm and composed, confident version of himself. You get someone like, if you want to go to a back three, you go and do a double swoop for him for 45 million, and Gleison Bremer, who at 26 years old, the strength and the controlled aggression that he shows for Juventus and the season before for Torino, that guy is again going to make someone like Romero level up. You have that. You have David Raya in goal. You have a proper leader like Laporte, Bremer, and then Romero next to him. That allows Pedro Porro to not have to think so much and be so rash with his defensive capabilities. That allows hopefully a Destiny Udogie to do the same on the left-hand side. I'll take Mia's point about Bentancur, although I'm worried about what version of Bentancur is going to come back. Like when you have that sort of injury, I'm not sure you're ever quite the same. I'm not sure you ever have full confidence in your knee. So I do think that Tottenham also need to go and get a proper number 6. Someone like a Palhinha, someone like a Manuel Ugarte, whoever our version of Casemiro is, whoever our version of Rodri is. We need our own version of that. We don't have that. We have 8 players that are all different versions of a number 8. And we don't have someone that can sit in there and control and boss the midfield and, essentially protect that back 3 or back 4. If you sort that out and you allow the people at the front just to worry about the things at the front and not have to worry about giving the ball away, mistakes are bred from lack of confidence. Again, Mia said the word, and I've said it 10 times since. That all starts, though, with getting better people that are composed and have balance in their thought processes under pressure. And we don't have any of those people in our squad right now. Yeah. And you go and get 1 or 2 players that I've just mentioned and bring them in, and we look an entirely different outfit and one that we can get very excited about next season.
And do you know what I think as well, Sean? A lot of people obviously saying about Romero, but I do think that is because he's rash, because he's panicking, and because he's got no one else around him who is calm enough to sort out the situation. He feels like he has to get in there, and that's where his rashness comes from. He hasn't got that cool head, and that's where he needs those cooler heads around him to show him the way, like to be a bit calm, like calm down, And I do think that will make a difference in Romero's game.
Go and pay whatever they want. Like I know that Guardiola, I see people in the comments saying go and get Guardiola. Like I've just got to forget that, right? Like there's levels to this game. He is at the very best. We're never going to get him. Even if we paid the money, he wouldn't want to come to us because other clubs would pay the money for him and they've got a bigger draw. Someone like Aymeric Laporte, like he's surplus to requirements at Manchester City. And, I don't think many clubs in Europe will have the money to pay for him. And I think that he's, maybe there'll be a 2-team shootout between us and Newcastle United. But at Newcastle United, maybe the draw for Newcastle is better. But ultimately, Newcastle have already got Sven Botman that plays on the left-hand side. So, like, Newcastle need to replace Fabian Schär, however you say his name. But that's a right-footed player. So I think that Tottenham, if you go and give Manchester City 50 million quid, you've got a player that Manchester City don't need, but that immediately levels us up 4 or 5 times over in our back line. And Tottenham immediately, in my mind, look a different outfit next season with someone like him. I don't think that Guardiola is realistic, but I do think Laporte could be.
I agree with you on that. I think, Pep Guardiola, I think only said it yesterday that, he sort of has to sit down with his squad at the end of the season. There are some unhappy members there that want to talk about game time, etc., etc. And I agree with you. Funny enough, I actually do think Laporte is probably more gettable than a Gavardio because, look, let's be honest, even if we did put in the 100 million that it'd take to get Gavardio, you're going to have the big dogs coming in and straight after. They ain't going to let that one happen. Once they know the value and they've got the money there, they're going for it. And once that happens, I'm sorry, but, just as the stature of the club we fall further down the pecking order unless you get yourself into an Ndombele situation where you pay astronomical amounts of money. But the danger with that is that players lose their hunger. Some players lose their hunger and stuff like that. So for me, I think Laporte is actually achievable. But Paul, I seen you shake your head there when Sean was speaking. What you were earlier on when he first started speaking, you were shaking your head. What did you not agree with?
God, that was a long time ago. I don't know.
I haven't made a cup of tea since then, since Sean started talking.
I was nodding as well, so I don't know. Which bit was it?
I can't remember, but I just seen you shaking your head. I think it was...
No, he sounded all right.
I thought I seen you shaking your head. Maybe I'm wrong. But we got a super chat
probably
here
would, because it's my instinct. It's like, oh, Sean's talking, fucking hell, But
wow, fair enough. Tell me how you really feel.
There's nothing specific, though. It's nothing to do with facts or anything like that,
Paul's not a flip-flop like you, Sean. We all know about you, you're flip-flopping, man.
We're all ambassadors for Havana, so we are all ambassadors.
Well, I've literally got an affiliate link for Havana. I'm going to start introducing it on my videos. If you fancy being a flip-flop with your opinions, then at least do it in comfort. Check out Havana today, where you get 10% off.
Quality. We'll all be walking around with Havanas and flat caps. Absolutely love it. Moondog says
flip-flops and flat caps. Love it. That's the name of the show right there.
It's the new style. It's the new style, lad. Moondog says my bet today, Dave, is Langley to score 11-1. Not a bad bet. That's if he starts, my man. It'd be interesting to see what Mason does. We'll get onto that talking point in a minute, where he's going to go with the four, switch to a back four. Does that mean Langley misses out or Dyer drops out? If he plays a back three, I presume Langley probably plays. But we'll get on to that conversation. I hope he does start for your sake, Moondog. And look, there's a cheeky goal in Langley. There is. Big up, Moondog. Really appreciate the support, my man. And Dermatron says, Paul, don't forget Ian Walker, the best of the lot.
Oh, yeah, he was good. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Honestly, even as a kid, I wanted to get that guy in the headlock and
start. Welcome.
Jack, you right, mate?
Have you come back from your coronation party, Jack, have you?
No, I was trying to sleep in, and then I heard, maybe some Hugo praise, and I was able to rise even sooner. And Sean was filling in for me, which gave me extra time as well to, get more coffee in here. And also, I thought Paul too as well. The early bird, gets the eagle.
I can jump off, lads. If there's too many cooks.
No, Sean. I'm saying you're doing me a favor. Doing me a favor. Early bird gets the eagle.
I'm happy to watch. If you want, I can stay. I'll speak less.
Quite the opposite.
Just like Nagelsmann. Look at him. He's all perking up now. He's come to life.
Hard to be up to the Anshader.
Love it. Hermitron, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. Ian Walker, I've tried to forget about that name, but somehow it keeps cropping up. But big up, Dermatron. Really appreciate the support, brother. But Jack, anything you want to say on that question we spoke about the back line? Because basically I was saying that 13 goals, we've conceded a league high 13 goals in the opening 15 minutes of league games this term. How do we sort it out? Because, me was saying that it's more than just a personnel issue across the back line. It's an issue that stems into midfield, an issue that stems into the forward line. And if that's the case, we're not going to replace everyone this season. So how do we get that sort of out of the team?
I think it's more of a mental thing. I think you kind of look into what Harry Kane said, post Liverpool, right? He basically said that for pretty much any team in the Premier League, scoring this many goals inside 20 minutes should be impossible. That was his sort of thought on it. And I think that means that no matter how much we probably slate these players, like, and I do believe that the 57 goals they have conceded is probably well worth their actual quality. But at the end of the day, the amount of goals conceding, inside the 20 minutes is just I don't know. I find that to be probably more down to mentality than I find that to be more down to real quality or anything. I think eventually they will concede. Eventually they will make some sort of huge mistake and they will slip on ice and they will pass it to the opponent or somebody will flap their arms and, not make the right save. It doesn't feel like, though, like conceding that many goals 2 times in a row inside 20 minutes, and also in the manner that we have more recently, is really down to the same problems as before. I think that's down to just some sort of mentality. I find it maybe to be that they seem to be kind of on the beach when they're away from home, and they kind of seem to sort of sleepwalk into these games away from home, kind of expecting maybe that it won't be possible that sort of thing could happen to them, and they don't seem to be able to match the energy of the opponent. We've seen Newcastle come out the gates like, just free flying, like it's their last game of football ever, really, for them. And it's the same thing kind of with Liverpool. And it seems like we're not really able to match that. And then we get sort of taken advantage of. And you would say, though, is that Spurs do have a good mentality, at least maybe some of the squad, and trying to battle back in those sort of conditions to come back. At least they showed that against Liverpool. But I don't know, Dave. I think it's more down to mentality than anything, because even Harry Kane said it should be pretty much impossible to concede as many goals as we have been inside 20 minutes.
Well, interestingly, this is what Mason sort of had to say on the situation. Systems and formations, they can help and can change some things, but the desire of the 11 players on the pitch to have a common goal and work together is probably the most important thing. And for me, I agree with him. I think if you've got 11 players all pulling their weight, all wanting to achieve a common goal, this sort of shit doesn't happen. Paul, you're nodding your head.
It's like, okay, you can play this formation or that formation, but a good footballer and a good football team, they supersede that. The formation is kind of meaningless. It could be any formation, and like a great Liverpool side of the 80s, if you pull one midfielder back into defence or whatever, they'd still be great. So I just agree with that. There is a team spirit, a team commitment to win a game or play for each other and back each other up, and that's something I don't see Tottenham do much. Like we all bemoan, and it's frustrating seeing it in one of our players fucks up, because it's very frequent. But there's no one backing them up and helping them out of the shit. You know what I mean? There's no gel there.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I did notice. One of the times we were attacking, and Joe, who got all the way back, Mo Salah, he went all the way back to make sure that he made that tackle to get that ball. And see, that's that desire, because even as a forward player, you will get back to help your team out. And I think that's where we lack a lot sometimes, is that desire to help out, everybody to help out, like you just said, Paul, as a team, as a unit. And that is so important. And that starts with every single player, every player on the pitch.
I agree with you on that. Look, I've watched Son be lazy at times. I've watched Kane be lazy at times. I watched that forward line sort of, just sort of sit there and just watch the ball being passed around them and down the side of them without any real commitment to get across and try and put them under pressure. I've seen the ball go into midfield without any of the midfielders getting any pressure on it, and I've seen the back line do the same. And I think Mason's absolutely spot on with what he says, that if you have 11 players committed to the cause, it doesn't really matter whether you play defensive football or on the front foot football. You need 11 players all committed for the same cause.
Pat Jennings said that when he played for Spurs, and I can't remember the two centre-halves that played in front of him, but he said that he could always make his best effort, because if he spilled one, he had absolute confidence that there'd be a defender ready to mop up, whereas our defence is just waiting for someone to fuck up and point the finger instead.
Yeah.
I think no matter how much quality you have, if you don't have anybody pulling their weight, and if you have everybody disjointed and sort of just maybe let's say, just reluctant to really make any sort of extra effort for each other, like Mia is saying, that means no matter what quality you have, you're capable of losing to the opponent if they have more will and desire than you do. You're capable of losing to Sheffield United. And then it's the same thing where if you are a team like us that is up for it on the night and you are amped for it and you are, pulling your weight and you are willing to sacrifice for each other, then you can beat a Man City no problem, and you find it quite easy. It's just a lot of it does come down to, even though we do talk about quality, and I'm not trying to defend at all, the back line, but when you do see a better version of themselves, when they actually are up for it, when they actually are pulling their weight, same thing with the midfield with Højbjerg. Højbjerg is a much better version of himself when he's well rested and when he's up for it and when he's confident. And probably the same thing when it comes to that forward line. You might be seeing Sonny pressing more. You might be seeing Kane pressing more. You might be seeing Kulusevski pressing more if they're all kind of pulling their weight and if they're all kind of on the same page with each other that day. But if they're not and they're disjointed, they're capable of losing to anybody, and they are capable of losing. Yeah.
What you're talking about, Jack, you seen last year, right? Everyone was at it. Everyone had the common goal. Everyone wanted to make that top four. And none of this shit was really happening too much last season. So I think you're absolutely spot on there. But look, to take a break from the defence, because they give me a headache, actually, maybe one quick stat for everybody, and then we'll take a break.
But it's a team-wide attitude, isn't it? Like I used to see Ozzy Ardiles, whenever he lost the ball, he fucking hated it. And he would be up he'd be like a rat up a drain pipe trying to get that ball back, I just don't see that fight anywhere on the pitch in our players, man.
Neil Hartley says, we are blaming the midfield and attack for the mistakes in the defence. We have scored a shed full of goals. It is the amount we concede, which is alarming. And I agree with you on that, right? I do agree with you on that, my man. However, although we know we've got problems in the back line, sort of a defensive unit does include the midfield. It does include the forward line. And look, as much as I do blame the back line for what's going on, because they just simply can't defend. They can't even put in a challenge or win a header anymore. However, I do think...
They don't tackle.
However...
They don't tackle. I saw Eric Dyer do a tackle last game, one tackle, and he looked like a dog trying to wipe its ass on the grass. That's how crap he is at doing it.
However, what I will say is, though, that the midfield aren't doing enough to sort of, stop the ball coming in towards the centre-backs, and the forward line aren't doing enough either, in my opinion. But look, for me, I agree with you, Neil. The back line has to take the majority of the responsibility. It just simply isn't good enough. Just one more stat on the back line before we move off and actually come back to it. Tottenham have conceded 57 league goals this season, including 15 in their last 4 games, which is the most in a single campaign since we let in 61 in 07-08. So it does look like we're on course to have the worst defence ever in Tottenham's Premier League history for sure. But look, I want to get onto something that maybe Sean was alluding to, and we'll start off with you on this one, Shawnee, if you want. Is that, sure. Look, Lucas Moore's gone in the summer, so you probably do need another body in the forward area. You need a cam in here this summer. You need, at least in my opinion, 3 centre-backs. There's no point in sitting here going, oh, well, we've got to keep 1 or 2, because at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen next season when they have to step in. So we need to get rid of them and bring in proper centre-backs. You also need to bring in a goalkeeper, and depending on what manager comes in here and what system, you might also need a left back or a right back. So, Sean, obviously we're not going to have the funds to allocate to be able to get all these positions done.
Yeah.
But where do we start? Because we have to have what's priority. We have to get some of the issues sorted out. So what issues out of all them need to be done this summer?
No, so I've got my own little version of this. I think it's obvious to everyone that the centre backs are the most important thing, right? Hands down. If we go and drop 60 million quid on James Maddison or 50 on James Ward-Prowse, and we end up with the same back line, or we go and spend 10 million quid on someone like a Clement Longley, right, and we end up with essentially the same thing, then it's going to be another disaster. Same thing again. So you have to go and allocate, for me, 65, 70% of the budget, whatever the budget is, to fixing the back line, and ideally the goalkeeper as well, right? Because, like I say, you do have Fraser Foster, but he's only here for another year. None of the young kids coming through. I watched the under-21s games. I watched you guys the other night and watched the under-18s. By the way,
it was good fun.
No, yeah, the delay was just a pain, but congratulations on getting recognised by Mr. Donnelly. Very cool for you. But yeah, look,
he liked the Emerson. He liked the Emerson sound effect. It seemed to, I think, Sean.
Yeah.
the
But you definitely need. Listen, on that point, maybe Alfie Dorrington looks. I mean, to me, he does look like he's super composed, very tall guy. Looks like a proper man. Maybe we could bring him in, but like, I think you need to go and spend 60-70% on the defenders, right? What I would do is, for me personally, you can't overlook the fact that you're getting rid of Lucas Moura. You're not going to make it permanent. And I think the permanent price for Danjuma is like 30 million quid. So, like, no. Like, unfortunately, he hasn't played enough minutes to justify it. There are players out there, though, and I did a little review on one of them yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. Players like Noah Okafor from Salzburg. Like 25 goals and 15 assists in 69 appearances for Salzburg in the Austrian league. I know it's the Austrian league, but he's available for like 11 million quid, 12 million quid, because he's going into his last year of his contract. He's only 21 years old. He plays off the left, but can play off the right. He can play as a second striker or as an out-and-out number 9. He's tall, he's fast, he's a brilliant dribbler of the ball. I know that there's a risk, right? And because of the Austrian league and the deficit there, the gap, but when needs must and budgets are slim and you've got so many holes to plug, if you're getting rid of Lucas Moura and you're getting rid of and you're not making Danjuma permanent, presuming you're going to keep Harry Kane, presuming you're going to make Decky permanent, presuming you're going to keep Sonny, then for me, you bring Brian Hill back in and you go and buy someone who's an up-and-comer and you take a punt, 15 million quid for that Okafor or someone like him. Would be like not a papering over a cracks, but like a risk reward that I'd get behind. Because right now, I think that if Tottenham can only find 150 million quid, I say only, it's still a lot of money, but you're going to need to spend about 80, 85, 90 of that on defenders, plus maybe another 35, 40 on a goalkeeper. So
do you think
we're fine scoring goals? Just go and plug some of those holes with young upstarts that can come in and do a good job. That's how I'd go about it.
Don't let me put you down too much of a rabbit hole, Sean, but just a quick follow-up. Do you think it's a bit similar to last season where you and I were in agreement that as much as I love Richarlison, we were saying like 60 million on the backup striker does not seem like the right money allocated, in this time. Stupid. Like maybe if we were missing Harry Kane, absolutely throw 60 million at it, like kind of thing, but we weren't. Yeah. And do you feel like it's a slightly, I don't want to put you down too much of a rabbit hole, but do you think it's slightly similar again with that Okafor suggestion? It'd be like the Emmanuel Dennis or other players that we were kind of looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got called out. I was on Henry's show and we were talking about this, about Richarlison, and people in the comments were like, why were we listening to Sean? He wanted Emmanuel Dennis. And I was like, I didn't want Emmanuel Dennis. I mean, I did want him, but it was more around a value for money.
The idea of Emmanuel Dennis.
12 million quid for a guy. 12 million quid for a guy who scored more goals in open play than Richarlison. So you then take the 50 million you're saving and put it into a centre back. So I'm not I know that there's levels of expectation, and for 60 million quid, you expect 20 goals a season. And Richarlison's never ever going to offer you that. But
we wanted that 50 million in a centre back, like you said.
100%. Exactly.
If I flip it on its head, guys, all this time when we've got somebody for a backup for Kane and we chose a cheaper option, everybody complained and said, if Kane got injured, God forbid, we would then have somebody to come in to replace him who wasn't good enough. So we had so many complaints about that. So if I flip it on its head, that if you look at it from that perspective, I can sort of get why the club would think to get somebody who was of a higher.
But it's needs must, Mia, right? Like it's different.
But we don't know if Kane would.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Of course, I get you don't know if Kane's going to get injured, right? But what you do know, like that, they're if buts and maybes. But what you absolutely do know in signing Richarlison, and whilst having Decky and whilst having Sonny, is that one of those four are 60 million pound players that are going to spend their time on the bench unless there's an injury. What you also know at the same time is that you have players that you do not want that are on the pitch because they're not good enough, but you don't have anyone better at the back. And so it's like, because you only have so much money, utilization of the budget in a way that's going to improve the first team was key. And for me, until we signed Richarlison, the budget the window at the time was like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 thus far, that whole thus far thing. As soon as we signed Richarlison, I was like, well, that takes it down to a 4 because he isn't, or someone isn't going to play We're going to have a £60 million player on the bench whilst we've got £5 million players on the pitch in other positions. And that, to me, is a problem.
But do you not feel like that if, say, Richie wasn't injured, when we had the problem with Kulu being injured, then we could have used him more. If he was able to be rotated, we could have used him, but he was actually injured. So you had that option of rotation and to cover if there was an injury. So he was more like a little bit of a utility player where he wasn't used as such because he did get injured.
Yeah, no,
Probably
I get
at
it.
the time,
but
everybody
all the
wanted
time,
like
though,
a
you've got
50
Ben Davies
million.
on the pitch, or Eric Dyer on the pitch, or Longley on the pitch, you know, and that to me is a bigger hole. Like, you have to think of the 11. I totally get the point, Neil. I totally get it. I understand what you're saying. I just think that you need to improve the first team before you start worrying about having £50 million rotational options on the presumption that everyone's going to stay fit. I know that's a stupid presumption to make, but you have to think about the fully fit first team before you think about injuries to players that are important and integral, because if they don't get injured, then you're going to have a player on the pitch that's like I say, a £5 million defender, and you've got a £60 million striker on the bench. We've got enough options up front, and to take this back to this summer, you've got enough talent up front. We don't struggle to score goals. We just struggle to keep them out. And so I would rather use the 150 million quid wisely. And for me, you put it where it needs to be spent, and that is at the back and in the goal.
If I could just weigh in on the Richarlison one, I actually think he was bought. I think the club panicked. I think they couldn't tie Harry Kane down to a new contract, and they're well aware that they could be in a situation this summer where they could end up having to sell him if he doesn't want to tie himself down to a new contract. And I think it's to have someone like Richarlison in place if Kane does leave. And I'd be interested to see whether you have a Parrott or a Dane Scarlett sort of coming in as that backup. Be interesting to see. But also, onto the question, we'll let Jack and Paul in and me in more on this as well. For me, I think, this is why I think it's important that you've got a manager that wants to work with some of the youth players at Tottenham. I think, look, I do say we need 3 centre-backs, but, if we keep Romero and we switch to a back 4, I think you can bring up Alfie Dorrington. I would like to give the kid a chance, to be honest with you. I really like what I've seen in the under-18s, and I know it's under-18s. He's done well for the under-21s, and I know it's an absolute huge step up. But for me, I'd rather have that guy in and around the first team as a backup, playing cup games and stuff like that, then a Tanganga, then a Davies, then a Sanchez, then an Eric Dyer. And then, I'd also bring in Langley as well, because for me, I like Langley. I get that he's made some mistakes this season, and the left-hand side has been a real problem this season in general. But what I do like about Langley is his positioning. And I think, again, if he was to come in as a backup for these cup games and all, I think he'd be all right. That then means you probably need to go out and get one world-class centre-half. And then that way you can use the money to bring in a Cam. You can use the money to bring in a goalkeeper as well, in my opinion. I even think if you want to, you get another player in the forward area, why not give Gil Messi a chance? In my opinion, I like what he was about when he was coming off the bench. Look what he done against Palace last in the reverse fixture this season. He was really good, and for me, there's a player there. He just needs a manager that believes in him, and I do think we do have some of the solutions in what we've loaned out, in what we've got coming through, in my opinion. But it needs more. But look, Jack, Mia, Paul, any you want to have your say on this?
You going, Paul?
Well, main thing is I want a manager. We all know we want centre backs and this and that, but I want a manager. And I've seen some of your videos, Sean, talking about how the board were, there's no plan B for when Paratici eventually, got done by FIFA. And for me, it's the same with the manager. We knew Conte was going at the end of the season. So unless they've already got it lined up and it's ready to go at the end of the season, that means we shouldn't be fucking around talking with like Nagelsmann and this. And, there's so many names up in the air at the moment. There should be a plan ready to go at the end of the season. And until that happens, I don't really care what players we buy or sell, because we all know, we all have a rough idea of the ones we want to get rid of and the ones we think are doing well. But until you got the manager there, there's no team, is there? So fuck it, I'll wait till there's a manager appointed.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mia, do you want to come in on this?
With the front line, I actually think with Lucas Moura going, I think that we probably, if we did get, say, a Dan Juma, I feel like that we've got Richarlison, we've got Sonny, we've got Kulu, we've got, I feel like that position isn't important as obviously the back line. The back line and goalkeeper, for me, like Sean, that is where we need to spend. But we need to spend wisely. We obviously might be able to get some money from some players. We don't have to rip up every single one of their contracts. So that obviously gives us a bit of money back, kind of like a little bit towards them in a way. So I suppose that it can be done on the budget. We just have to be careful and wise with our money. We just can't be... Yeah, we can't just be spending. And also, to me, it ain't always about how much you spend. Look how much Man United spend on Maguire. And look what's going on with Maguire. So it isn't always necessarily money equals getting that player that's going to be a level up. So you have to just spend wisely and scout wisely. And I think that is the most important and key thing, is to scout wisely.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. It's how you spend the money, and that's sort of been proven to us down the last few years for sure. Jacko, do you want to have your say?
No, I think everything's been well covered there. Probably, I would say get in, a director of football. Some people would say before the manager, but to be fair, I think Nagelsmann probably has a good idea of what directors of football he'd like to work with. So it's probably even okay to get that guy first. And I know Paul is, probably very upset that I even mentioned Nagelsmann there again, when I got the chance. But Paul, unless you can convince me that Ange is a Hill Messi, unless he can convince me he can use Hill Messi, I'm going to have to.
Ange is about to become King of Scotland again this weekend. He's going to win the treble up with Celtic, and I think they're going to do very well. I think they're going to start surprising a few people in the Champions League. So, you can mock Ange all you like, but he's winning stuff, man.
You should send Hill Messi on loan up there. Some people have said that in the past. Send Hill Messi up to Scotland. Yeah.
Well,
let him learn.
Joe Hart playing well as well. So if a manager can get a tune out of Joe Hart, maybe there's hope for
and Carter Vickers
for all of us.
And Carter Vickers. Don't forget him too. But everybody, we have over. We're not on the likes today at all. I think. Look, I get it. It's early. We're tired. People probably haven't had breakfast or coffee. But let's absolutely obliterate that like button. We've got a good record of getting over 100 likes on all of our streams. So please, let's make that continue on. You guys are absolutely awesome at it. Back to my favorite subject, the defense. So, Jack was
I was on mute, and so I did a big. You missed my big sigh that I just done because I was on mute. I was just like, ah.
No, look, two quick questions on it. We'll go to you on this one, Jack.
How fucked is our defence with David Harris?
Honestly, it drives me mad. When it's sorted, I can move on to another area of the pitch. I can't wait. Jacko, Alfie Dorrington was superb for the under-18s in the cup final win Thursday night. Excellent and composed on the ball, very strong in the air, and was not played in behind all game. Dyer has made mistakes all season long. Should we be looking to the future over the next four games and give Alfie Dorrington a chance to prove that maybe he is good enough?
I mean,
get him in. That's the fucking answer. Get him in, Jack. Get him in now. Fuck it.
Paul, you're making my answer now, less eloquent because you just made yours so simple. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, Dave. Get him in. But what I was going to say is that the standard of center back has gotten so low for us that I genuinely feel like it's not even all that crazy to even put him on the bench. I don't know if you can exactly start him right away, but you could probably, it just seems like it is kind of like throwing a kid maybe into the fire a little bit. But I mean, if he can swim, then he can swim. I mean, he's probably more capable of swimming than the rest of our defenders. But I don't know. It's just like we always maybe talk about. You don't want to shatter a kid's confidence, in times when, the whole team is down, the whole team is low on confidence and etc. They can bring him down, or they can bring him down with them. And that sort of thing, you don't want to spoil, the golden generation, Dave, with some of these players. You don't want Eric Dyer teaching him how to strike a pose. You don't want Davinson Sanchez teaching him how to strike a pose and those sort of things.
Yeah, look. all this about, breaking a kid's confidence, I don't buy it. If a kid's good enough, they'll do the job. And if they crack, then they were going to crack whether they're 17 or 30. So
but do you honestly
give him a go, for fuck's sake.
But Paul, do you honestly believe that when you look at someone like Kane, how many loans he went on before he become good? So, when you look at the players that have gone out on loan, they have to have that experience first. Just to chuck them into the Premier League, I think it's just a bit. You can do it with some players who maybe got a bit more experience, but certain players, I think they're still a bit too young. They need that bit more experience playing before you just chuck them into a Tottenham. I do want to play youngsters, but it has to be the right time and the right amount of experience that they've had, because we didn't chuck Harry Kane in there. We sent him on loan 3-4 times before he came in.
But he wasn't good enough at that age. If Dorrington, my suspicion is that Dorrington is a better centre half than Eric Dyer, so he should play in the team. Whereas Harry Kane at the age of 18, 19, 20 wasn't good enough. He had to go and develop. He's a late developer. But Dorrington,
what are you basing it on, Paul? Like the standards of the under-18 team, like the game. Listen, I watched the other night. I thought he was spectacular. Right, that goal that he scored when we went 2-1 up, him breaking out of defence, doing the 1-2, and then driving forward. It looked remarkable. However, I think we need to recognise that the gulf in class between the under-18s and the under-21s is marked. Let alone the under-21s to the first team. Right, so I'm not sure that we can take too much from those performances at the under-18 level. He does okay in the under-21s as well. I think what you really got to do.
Hang on a minute. I think you're missing the main thing here, Sean. And I love you, man. But it's Eric Dyer is shit. Eric Dyer is fucking useless. So
but if you put Eric Dyer in the under-21s team.
He ain't going to be worse than Eric Dyer.
You put Eric Dyer in the under-21 team or the under-18 team, and he bosses it. Come on, he's not that. He's
a hilarious image to imagine.
He's fucking useless. He doesn't tackle. How can you be a defender and not tackle?
Do you actually think that Eric Dyer wouldn't look like Paolo Maldini in the under-18 team?
Of course he would.
Come on, Paul.
Oh, dude.
Do you know what, though? Do you know what on this?
Come on, man. Come on. I mean, look, Eric Dyer.
Hilarious images to imagine. He's so hilarious.
There's been times I've seen Eric Dyer actively run away. He's given an attacking player more options than they thought they fucking had when they were running towards
Eric Dyer with hair against under-18.
I'll give you a good example, right? For me, it's a bit like chucking a year 7 in a GCSE exam. You've given them a little bit of education, but you haven't given them the education to have the full GCSE knowledge. So you're not going to chuck them in an exam in that year because they're still too young, right? It's exactly the same thing. You can't chuck a little kid in who's been playing in the under-18s into a squad of men, which is a lot different. Especially in defence.
There's been so many players. There's been so many great players that have started at a younger age than we would even think of these days.
Very rarely do you see 18-year-olds playing in the Premier League as a defender. Incredibly rare.
Defence, especially.
Well, that's because the Premier League has lost its bloody way, and I think we should be playing more kids in there because they've got some passion, they've got some skill, and they're
what happens if he comes
all
in and gets
weight of opinion that you're too young and you're not good enough.
Mate, imagine him playing today. If Eze runs at him or Elise runs at him and absolutely tears him a new one and murders him, which is exactly what would happen because he's never faced that level before, his confidence would be absolutely devastated. And he might write off.
Well, he's not a pussy, man. Every defender gets skinned. He's a fucking footballer. Okay, I got my debut for Tottenham and a player ran over me and I'm scared. Well, fuck off. But he might be the kind of the guy that a player runs at him and he don't like it and he lets that player know and it don't happen again. Who knows?
Is it not better suited to send him out on loan to a League Two team and let him earn his stripes on somebody else, let him learn on somebody else's dime?
That would be perfectly acceptable in any normal football team. but we've got Eric Dyer in our defence, man. So, I mean, fuck's sake, come on.
Look, where the question comes from and my thinking behind it is right. You've got Eric Dyer, nearly 30 years of age, committing crimes against defending every single week. Most weeks, right? Most weeks. Our season's sort of tailing off. There's 4 games left. I looked at Dorrington compared to Chaplin. Dorrington is streets ahead, absolute streets ahead of the guy he played beside. I disagree with Mia. You cannot compare an exam situation to a footballer. 2 complete different things. You cannot compare that. It's not even.
It wasn't a comparison. It was an analogy, actually.
Well, then you can't even use that analogy because you can't use. It doesn't matter what it is. Let's stop playing. No, look, let's stop playing silly buggers. It's not an analogy that you can use. It's absolutely codswallop. Exams and football.
It's not codswallop.
It is. No, let me explain. Exams compared to football is absolute codswallop. It's in school you put into a level and you're taught and stuff like that. There's plenty of cases in years gone by, and it's always been the case with football, that you can have 17, 18-year-olds that are good enough to play men's football. You've had it all.
Preach it up, brother.
That's why that analogy is non-existing. You cannot compare the 2. However, with Alfie Dorrington, he's a big guy for his age. He's got legs. He's got a bit of pace about him. And for me, why not stick him in? I can accept if he's making mistakes as a youngster. But what I can't accept it from is a fully fledged man, an international who's making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. For me, at some point, we've got to start, giving some of these youngsters a chance where we can to see if they're good enough. In an ideal situation, it would come in a League Cup game, an FA Cup game, maybe some of the games in a Europa Conference League or Europa League or something like that. However, we're not in that time. We're not in that situation right now. And sometimes, look at Everton. They brought through Anthony Gordon in a bad situation because players they had in them positions weren't doing it. He's since got a move to Newcastle. Yes, he's got a lot of development to do. But for me, I don't see why you cannot bring Alfie Dorrington in here and give him a shot. You can't let Eric Dyer make the mistakes.
In the middle of a back 3 against Crystal Palace.
And that's why everyone should subscribe and click like to this channel, because this silly fat twat over here talks the truth. Puts it simply. I mean, fucking hell, why wouldn't you play Dorrington, man? Come on. It's obvious, isn't it?
I don't understand why you can't give the guy a chance.
It's not obvious. Loan him out first. Let him level up. I
just don't want him to be spoiled by the mood of the squad and these players.
Bye, Dorrington. Hope you have a nice bus ride. And he's licking the windows as he becomes trained to be a League One player. We're giving him the chance of glory. He might love it.
I
can't believe what I'm hearing. I cannot believe what I'm hearing.
I can't believe that you want Eric Dyer to still play. I can't believe what I'm hearing there.
I don't want Eric Dyer to. I want us to improve in the summer, but I do not think that Alfie Dorrington should go from under 17s 2 weeks ago, under 18s straight into the first team because he walked past the
couple of children. As well, though, Sean. He's been playing under.
Yes, I know, but the gap is ridiculous. The gap is ridiculous.
Football is a unanimous language, Sean.
The gap is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. He would get absolutely annihilated today against the Crystal Palace team. It would destroy his confidence. It was such a backward step. It's so the logic on it. Like, loan him out let him play professional football at a lower league. Let's see how he does. If he's too good for the League Two, you go straight into the Championship. And if he's that good, he comes back in. I agree with Mia 100%. And Paul, I can't believe you're so incensed by the idea that common sense is being proposed on this channel.
I think it is. I think it is common sense.
And if you want common sense, go over to Spurs Between the Lines and Spurs Talk Show. Just saying.
No, if you're comparing exams to football.
If you want the truth, come over here. If you want common sense, go to Spurs Between the Lines. If you want the realism, go to Sean.
Listen, I will state it was not a comparison. It was an analogy. There's a difference.
Yeah. There's kids that get skipped ahead a year when they're 7, 8, 9 because they're too smart for the year. There's the very rare occasion that a 10-year-old goes and becomes a university graduate because they're just geniuses that are just wasting their time being in school. But the vast majority of talented 10-year-olds at best get put into the under 11, get put into the year ahead. They don't go and take their GCSEs early. I completely agree with Mia. The analogy does make sense.
It doesn't. You can't compare exams and football. You can't. Everyone
it's not
that
a
goes
comparison. It's an analogy. There's a
right.
difference.
Whatever it is, I actually don't give a shit. At the end of the day, it's useless, right? I don't care what it is. You cannot compare exams to football. It's complete different. Or an analogy, I don't care. You cannot have that as an analogy. It doesn't work. Football's complete different. It doesn't. Football's complete different.
Because you're comparing football and exams. That's not what I'm doing. It was an analogy. You're understanding what I'm saying is wrong. That's why you're saying it's nonsense when it's not. Don't say what I'm saying is nonsense.
You can't compare. You can't compare. You can't have an analogy.
It's not a comparison.
Well,
it's
it doesn't
an analogy.
matter. Look, let's stop playing silly buggers and beating around the bush, Mia. It's silly buggers and beating around the bush is what you're doing.
Dave, what about Jeff Tanganga?
Let's just.
I've let all you speak and I've stayed quiet. I'm going to have my say, right? And you can stay quiet while I have my say. How about that for once? What I will say is, I don't care whether it's an analogy or anything like that. You can't compare exams to football. Football is completely different. Some players at a young age have it. And the old saying goes, forget about age. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And you're never going to know if these guys are good enough until you give them an opportunity in that environment.
What about Japhet Tanganga? Right? Japhet Tanganga has not been on loan. Who's saying it? Someone said it in the chat a minute ago.
Japhet Tanganga.
He took his chance, though, when it was given to him. Took his chance.
He's been injured.
He hasn't. He should have been sent out on loan, correct?
But when he was first given that chance as a very young kid, brought in from the academy, he took his chance under
one game, right?
No, for a few games under Jose, wasn't it?
Yeah, Crystal
Didn't
Palace.
He have a few appearances that season?
He got sent.
That's what we're asking for with. That's what we're asking for with Alfie Dorrington, though. It's just, 1-2 games. Maybe it could be something slightly similar.
I've got no problem with him coming off the bench for 5 minutes, for 3 minutes, whatever, to give him run out. But to start a game against a team like Crystal Palace, it's so bonkers. He hasn't done it. He hasn't done it at any level.
You, Sean. Fucking hell, I'll give you 3 minutes.
You wouldn't get anywhere near the first team in my squad, mate.
There's other players that I agree with you, right, that should be given more of a chance. Like obviously an Alfie Devine, like they've been around the team more, they've got that bit more. But someone as young as Alfie Dorrington, it's too much of a leap. That's all I think. It's too much of a leap.
Fair enough. So we have
Jack. What's your take? Yeah, Jack's
I don't really want to give a shit about. I don't give a shit either about the whole analogy comparison thing. I just think that at the end of the day, there are players that are capable of doing it when there are maybe very low standards at the squad. We do have very low standards at the squad. I'm not really sure if I would just exactly chuck him into it straight away, but I do probably want to see him feature. So I guess you do have to sort of swallow your pride and just maybe give him, that baptism of fire, I guess, with the likes of Spurs and see if he can swim and see if he can do it. And there have been plenty of players who have done it. Like Dave said, with Anthony Gordon, you see Jude Bellingham doing it. You see plenty of players that are capable. And like you said, it's a very big thing to ask of a kid. And it's also as well, probably plenty of occasions you do see the gap in quality that maybe is there. But you also at times when you're desperate and at times when you feel like maybe the standard is that low, maybe you do just sort of go for it. You do just sort of take that risk. And as well, I think a lot of people do just sort of feel like they are maybe at a stage where what's the point of continuing with somebody who is probably going to let us concede 2, 3, 4 goals, maybe give a chance to a kid who might actually potentially have us concede 1 fewer, maybe 2 fewer. And I guess that's where the logic comes from. And I feel like where I get maybe a bit skeptical, Sean, I don't know if this has been mentioned, but I just feel like the players that would be around Alfie Dorrington would not be a good influence on him. And that's where I'm just slightly worried about because they're not in a good mood right now. They certainly can't teach him how to defend. And I would rather, him be around people that actually do know how to actually defend and can teach him a thing or two. I don't want Eric Dyer teaching him how to strike a pose. I want people to teach him how to actually make a tackle. And so that's where I'd be slightly worried is just the vibe around the squad, the people in the squad could potentially have a bad influence on him. But that's the only thing.
Do you not think there would be some noise? When you're using people like Jude Bellingham as an example, right? Or people refer to people like Wayne Rooney getting his debut for Everton and putting in the worldie against Arsenal. Like those players were known about. Everyone knew that I remember when Wayne Rooney was 13 watching Sky Sports and people saying, "Oh yeah, there's this kid coming through at Everton that's just going to be absolutely out of this world." No one's talking about Alfie Dorrington in that vein. I've got no problem with bleeding in youngsters. Like I even put a tweet out the other day saying, if we're going to lose Mundle, then give him a few minutes, let him see a pathway to the first team. I've got no problem with the concept of it. It's just the idea that because Dorrington had a good game in the under-18s cup final, that suddenly we think he's better than Eric Dyer.
Hang on.
In all realism, though, he did just play. He did just play a day and a half ago, so that is also.
It's not just one game. You know, if anybody like me who likes to keep an eye on the youth, you would have watched him in various different games. It's not just based off one game.
He hasn't been in different class in every game.
The guy is highly rated, Sean. You know, anyone in and around the England setup, they reckon that this guy has a chance of making it. The guy is highly rated.
A chance of making it is different to talking about how Jude Bellingham was talked about and Wayne Rooney.
Give him a go, man. Give him a go. Steve Perryman. Look at our longest serving player. Why is our longest serving player? Because he started at such a young age. He was spotted as someone as having talent that could do something in the team that none of the current squad could do. Now, if Dorrington is that guy, he's that guy. If he's not, he's not. I mean, I don't know. But to say he's too young or inexperienced,
you don't know. So why are you so steadfast on him being put into the first team? You don't know. No one's talking about Alfie Dorrington as being someone who's chomping at the bit of the first team. No one is saying that. So to put him in, today, it's just it's a madness. It's a madness concept.
What have you got to lose?
It's not like because if he's on the team,
what you got to lose. But Sean,
if he's on the team sheet, he's on the team sheet, isn't he? But I see what you're saying, Sean. It's not like I'm really disagreeing with you, but you know, if he is on the team sheet, he is on the team sheet, isn't he?
The thing is, right? Why would you keep persisting with Eric Dyer? What have you got to lose? We know what Sanchez offers. We know what Tottenham offers. We know what other people offers. What have you got to lose by giving the guy a shot? What have you got to lose? We know what Dyer is going to produce.
What, is he going to concede more goals? Really? How the fuck?
Could do. Could easily do.
Yeah, but he won't hit the ball to an attacker.
I can't actually believe I have to go through the logic on this one. Like, to me, it's
I can't believe that you want to insist with Eric Dyer instead of giving someone else the chance.
I
don't. I said today, my team is Romero, Longley, Dyer. I don't want Romero, Longley, Davies. I don't want Dyer in the team today. That doesn't mean I want to go to an under-17s FA Trophy winner. I'm sorry.
Under 18.
Under 18. He won both, but whatever. Yeah.
And he's played on the 21s as well.
Go through the process. Send him on loan. Send him on loan to someone first, like everyone else goes through.
Man. See, this is it. You know, you got to go with the football
Ryan
part.
Mason. Ryan Mason saying, "Oh, I feel like I'm ready. Oh, do you, mate? Do you? Every other young manager has to go and earn their stripes elsewhere. Like Xabi Alonso, 3 years at Real Sociedad B.
What it comes down to. What it comes down to, it don't come down. It don't come down to numbers on a spreadsheet or age or anything. If he's got the right character, he's got the right character. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Well,
I think it's too early to ask that question.
That's the end of the Alfie Dorrington question. I think it's a valid question, Sean. I think the fact that Dyer makes mistakes week in, week out, and we know what other people produce, I don't understand why you can't start giving somebody a chance. Because
that's the end of the debate, Sean. Eric Dyer shit. Let's move on.
We've lost kids in the past for not giving them an opportunity. So we have, and now they're going for 30, 40, 50 million pounds. So for me, at some stage, you've got to give them. And back to Sean's point about managers earning their stripes in the B setups, was just like Dorrington earning his stripes in the under 21s. What's the difference? There is no difference. At the end of the day, them managers come from the B setup and is given an opportunity. And that's what you need to do with some of these guys, in my opinion. I think that's valid. But look, we'll move on to probably another contentious talking point. Romero's made some high-profile errors of late and has come in for some scrutiny off the back of it this season. Last season, he was a bit of a Rolls-Royce of a defender. This season, it looks like he has lost his head. How can we get Romero back to his best?
Got to give that one to Mia, the Romero specialist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, what I said earlier, I think that he needs to learn to be better and more controlled when there's difficult situations. He needs to not be so hot-headed and actually be a little bit calmer. But I do think that will be in conjunction with somebody who is calm and next to him, who he doesn't feel like he has to be rash because they're useless. Like if he's, because one of the times, I can't remember what game it is, he tackled someone. That's because someone else was out of position and he was covering for them. So if he's trying to cover everybody, he's looking at all the disasters and trying to cover them, and his head's getting hot and he's not making rational, sensible decisions. So I feel like that having someone who's next to him who's calmer maybe, and then him learning to be calmer is going to be a massive difference for Romero, because I think he hasn't hit his ceiling yet. I think he's still got a lot to learn as a defender because he's still relatively young.
What I find even interesting, Mia, though, is that I'm not even sure if I think probably makes most sense to put a guy that's not nearly as like aggressive as him sort of next to him.
Yeah.
But maybe what he just needs most is just a competent defender of somebody that he can trust. Because if I recall, like with Otamendi, who he had next to him at the World Cup, Otamendi, yes, is sort of a veteran, but he's always been known as a bit of a nasty sort of kind of bulldog type center back himself that, will step out and, kind of clatter people and make sort of rash decisions, himself. But he probably gets those decisions right more often than wrong. And I think that's maybe where Romero is. It's a two-way street, because I think what's happening is I think he's losing his head because he's seeing mistakes happen around him, and then he's maybe trying to account for them. But that then leads to him making his own mistakes, and then that's his own fault, right? That's his own fault.
Yeah,
because he's then
absolutely.
either making lapses of judgment, or he's, maybe thinking about something too much, and, then just leads to a poor mistake. But I just think what we can hope for is he just continues to try his best, continues not to basically what he did against Newcastle, which is basically give up, because I think that's where we really, we're saddened to see is normally Romero, even if he makes bad decisions or whatnot, usually almost never gives up. He continues to kind of fight in the same way that he does. And so I think he's just going to have to, for me, Mia, just continue through the hard slog of what is a bad defense and what is going to be probably a hard, few games of, some shaky moments. And he just has to see if he can, get through the rest of it. And hopefully he gets some, new set of players around him in the summer that can help him out. But also maybe, I think Sean would agree with this, also challenge him, right? Also maybe, push him a little bit as well. And, so that we can, not feel like he's going to be another center back that doesn't have anybody challenging him, or, that his place is just given to him, right? Because that's also been a problem, I think, in the defense, is that almost nobody really gets challenged. They kind of just have their spots just sort of handed to them. And so I think that's what we just have to hope for. A few different things.
I'll go back to what I said originally a couple of weeks ago, a week however long ago, and I got lambasted in the comments, is no player is too big to be dropped. No player is too big to be dropped. And that's how it should be in a competitive situation like a football team. So you should always be worried for your place. So you've got to play at your best because you know that your place is at risk. That's how it should be. And that's for Romero as well. And I love Romero, but that's obviously, it has to be, definitely.
Anyone else? Any Sean? You want to have a say on Romero, my man?
Yeah, I just think he needs to, I don't know, like to focus more. Like I said, I think that he gets a lot of he gets away with murder. No one criticizes him because it's and usually it's well, there's always people worse than him that gets the anguish. And then on top of that, you have the defense of, well, put better players around him, and you'll see the player that he can be. Which you can make the same argument for anyone to a degree, right? You put Alfie Dorrington in Manchester City's first team, and he probably looks like a world-class player because he doesn't have to do that much defending. Like, all I'm saying is that, like, he needs to level up. And for me personally, I think a lot of the weaknesses that I find within Romero are not actually team specific. I think they are within his own head. I think his positional awareness is really poor. I think his concentration skills are awful. I think his decision-making, especially around rash challenges, leaves a lot to be desired. Those things are not dependent on, they're not completely separate from, they are indirectly maybe involved as a consequence of what else is happening on the pitch. But I think he needs to focus and concentrate and You know, I think that his season's been awful because he had the giant. He didn't care about Tottenham before the World Cup. He was focused entirely on that. And then I think after the World Cup, he came back down. You know, won the World Cup, and that was his goal for the season. And then once he comes back down to Tottenham. You know, it's like gravity pulling you back down to earth with a bump. And I don't think his mind was on the task because he's already achieved something so young that most players never do. And I think that his appreciation of and his professionalism a little bit, not professional, that sounds like he's unprofessional. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that he needs to remember who pays his paycheck and focus and prioritize Tottenham and work on the mental attributes that I think he lacks in. I know he's only young. A lot of good players, when they're young, don't have that stuff, and experience lends to better decision making. But me personally, I think he deserves a hell of a lot more criticism than he gets from the Tottenham community.
Paul, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with Sean there. I think he gets some slack because he's probably our best defender, which isn't saying much, is it? Really? I mean. He's like the one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind at Tottenham, and it really does. The lead up to the World Cup was a bit sketchy. Won the World Cup, and he hasn't really been on it since the World Cup. It's almost like Danny Kelly on
I think he's had some scattered man of the match performances though since the World Cup. Like I wouldn't say he's had consistent performances, but he's had some man of the match performances here and there. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, a phrase struck me that Danny Kelly said in his view from the Lane podcast, where he said it looked like he won the World Cup and retired. And it kind of feels a bit like that. There's not quite the same nous or intensity like in the Newcastle game when he's sucking his fingers, and he didn't look like a man on the go. So he does deserve criticism, but he's just lucky that we've got defenders that don't defend. So. I think with a decent partnership next to him next year, then he could be really good because we know he's good. We know he's good, but there's something about Tottenham at the moment that him and Tottenham ain't firing.
Jack, would you agree that Romero deserves criticism?
If I were to try to repeat what I maybe only said once, and all of probably my excuses for Romero, but I did say at the end of the day, the decisions he's either making because of the mistakes that are happening around him are ultimately mistakes he's also making. Like these are his own judgments. These are his own decisions, and he's making rash decisions and he's making rash judgments, and he's accountable for those. I think we're all trying to maybe on one end, maybe if we're big defenders of Romero, we're trying to, explain maybe why he's making those rash decisions. But at the end of the day, I think where Sean is probably right and where a lot of people probably feel is, maybe, not spoken about enough is these rash decisions are still rash decisions and hurt us and cost us points and cost us goals. And it's not like maybe he gets that sort of same, how would you put it, that same sort of backlash or that same type of criticism for when he basically is responsible for, conceding a goal or for, leading to a big mistake or something. It's kind of a different form of criticism. And I could see how that gets frustrating for people because, if we're... Well, in your case, because you feel like he's only a new player and he's only going to probably get better at Spurs, and he's also quite young and he has a lot of developing. And at the end of the day, I think if you were to put Romero up in the transfer market, I'm pretty sure you would have Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's, and everybody sniffing after him. So it's a hard balance, Dave, because we find ourselves constantly digging into what we know is the biggest problem, which is the defense. So we really analyze people, and probably what just ends up happening is Romero gets away with, maybe, criticism at the end of the day, because he also has contributed to, goals himself, and he has contributed to goals conceded. What I would say, though, is I do feel like a lot of man of the match performances he's had this season do maybe get forgotten because I'm not sure if he's tied in a bunch of good string of performances in a row. Maybe it's been like when we win or we have a good result, seems like he'll have a pretty great game. But then when we have a pretty poor match and we lose, Romero hasn't exactly always been, maybe a big standout in those. So maybe that's where it also comes from. Maybe when we've been losing, he hasn't stood out as much.
I think I agree with the hunger part. That look, he's lost a bit of hunger after the World Cup. I think every player would if you've won a World Cup. The majority of players do. When they win a World Cup, you sort of lose a bit of hunger. It just depends how long you sort of lose that appetite for. But look, when it comes to Romero, for me, I think you got to have a different conversation with Romero, because if you start lumping him in the same bracket with a Dyer, with a Davies, with a Sanchez and stuff like that, you're never, ever going to sort out the problem. And for me, when I look at that back line, he's the only thing salvageable from it. We know he's a Rolls-Royce defender. He put in an absolute unbelievable season last season. And I'd argue that the right-hand side of our defence has been our strongest part of the defence this season. And that includes Romero, and even when Emerson was beside him. So for me, I think, look, I get that, Romero still has parts of his games to work on. But what we're doing here at Tottenham is we're developing a culture where we're starting to lump a lot of these new players in with the spine of the team that have been causing problems for a lot longer. And people are very quick to get onto the new players. But when you say a Dyer, it's like, yeah, we know he's shit, but let's talk about Romero. And that is what I don't like. That's what I can't get with, because you're never, ever going to solve the problem if you keep adding to it. We got to understand that, a lot of football is based on partnerships. The centre-back partnership is absolutely crucial. People speaking to each other, etc., knowing each other's games. Same as the right-sided centre-back with the right back. Same as the left-sided centre-back with the left back. Same as your midfielders. Same as your forward players. A lot of it has to do with partnerships. And if there's no partnership there, both players are going to look shit. But, for me, what you got to do is you got to look at Romero. You got to look at what he brings. I think majority of his defensive work, I think, is solid and sound. I think, on the ball, I think he's our best player out from the back on the ball. Although he made a mistake last week, look at the true ball he played for Sonny to try and make up for it. You don't see other defenders in our team with that capability or being able to do that. And for me, with Romero, yes, I think he deserves a bit of critique. But I'm never going to go as far as I am with it on an Eric Dyer, on a Sanchez, because the reality is some of these guys have been here 8 years and been doing it a lot longer than, say, Romero.
But no one's going at them at the same level. You said like, no, they're not. No way, mate.
Everyone wants to talk about Romero because it seems
no one's talking about Romero.
I think that's a bit subjective. I think that's
why the point is saying. That's what the point I was making, and Paul was saying is that he gets a free pass because he's playing next to Dyer. Everyone spends all their time reminding everyone how poor Dyer is. Romero gets a free pass. Romero doesn't get anywhere near the criticism that he should get
because
he doesn't deserve as much criticism as Dyer, but he deserves more than he gets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think that's where they're coming from, Dave. I don't think it's nearly as much criticism. I mean, I don't know. It's subjective at the end of the day. You'll probably see people criticizing Romero as much as you feel like they should be criticizing Dyer. But I think at the end of the day, I think where Sean is coming from is that he just needs to get more. He just needs to get a bit more. I don't think he's saying nearly as much as Dyer.
No, I'm just saying it's my personal opinion. I'm not aiming at anyone on the planet. I'm saying from what I see, I do see people very quick to want to have the Romero conversations. And I've seen this across many socials, across channels and everything else, where as soon as someone brings up Dyer, it's like, no, why won't we talk about Romero? And that does happen. And if we're going to sit here they're wrong, because that does happen. I've seen it with my own eyes. And for me,
anyone that's saying let's not talk about Dyer, let's focus on Romero, that's a problem. That's because like if you're gonna evaluate the defense in terms of where the criticism goes, and Dyer gets 70% of the lion's share. Longley should get 20% because whilst he's good on the ball, he's so slow and he's got a massive turning circle.
Like
I say, for me,
another 80%.
Yeah, Luis should get his share as well. But in terms of the centre backs, like Romero for me, he's got all of the minerals, all of the attributes, he's got the speed, he's got the pace, he's got the ability to turn. For me, it's mental. I think he just switches off too much and makes really poor decisions. And I just think that overall, he gets less criticism than he should do, but nowhere near as much does he deserve as. Like I think that you should criticise Longley and Romero probably in equal measure, but actually. We've gone hard on, or a lot of people have gone hard, me specifically, Sonny this season. And I criticize Sonny because my expectations of Sonny are so much higher. Like, I think that Sonny is one of the best players in the world. Like, I still think he's one of the best players in the world, but my expectations of him are up here because I know what he's capable of and I love him and I want him to get back here. But when he plays down here, even if him being down here is still miles better than someone else, I'm going to go hard on him because I expect more. And I expect more from Romero than I do from Dyer. I expect more from Romero than I do from Longley. And I think that this season, Romero hasn't seemed to have given enough. He doesn't seem to care. And
if we were to give out pies of blame,
you know, what you said there, Sean, that's the thing, man. It looks like, even look, like Dyer and Sanchez and Longley, they're not a patch on Romero as a player, but there have been times where Romero just looks like he doesn't give a shit. There really are, and he should be hauled over for that, because even though he's the better defender by a mile, that's not good enough. You've got to give it.
Yeah.
The way I see it is that two things can be true at the same time. So Dyer can be absolutely rubbish and terrible, but you also have to criticise the games that Romero hasn't been good. And I always do criticise him. To be fair, as much as I love him, I will criticise him because I feel like he does deserve it, because sometimes he does make the wrong decisions. And I understand that, but two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. And I love Romero as well, by the way. Like, I'm giving him a hard time today, and I will. The people I love the most, I expect the most from. And the reason I love them is because I know how good they can be. And if they're not doing it, then they are going to get they're going to be on the receiving end of my passion, because I know that they're capable of much more.
Sean,
I'm going to say this.
I'll fight you how much you love him, because I think I love him probably slightly more.
No, but I think our love is slightly different. I think you fancy him, and I just admire him.
I love the way that he plays.
I mean, let's not even talk about the passion between Jack and Nagelsmann. I mean, that's just super sizzling, man. It's just too hot to touch.
I was going to say, Dave is, well done to you, Dave, because I think with all the questions you have here, we have, I feel like, so many different perspectives that no one could ever accuse this of, like a certain narrative or a certain, perspective being missed out.
No echo chambers here.
It feels like every single opinion on every single has been represented. It's like a healthy.
We're going for each other today. We are going for each other.
I'll be honest. I actually
every opinion has been heard today on every subject. It feels.
I actually thought my questions were shy. It's actually the passion of people make them good, to be brutally honest. But look, we've got 2 super chats. We'll take these and then we'll move on. We've got Moondog says, loving the chat this morning, and I agree with Paul. Big
yes! Fucking yes, man! Fucking yes! 1-0. 1-0 to the pool. That's it. That's it. In the stream. Fuck you.
Big up, Moondog.
Fuck you, Prince Charles. I'm the winner today.
Wade Bonner says, ding, ding, back to your corners, ding, ding, round 2. Big yourself up, Wade Bonner.
Fucking Charles ain't sitting on the throne from a super chat from Moondog, is he? No, I am. So fuck you.
Big up Wayne Bonner and big up Moondog. Guys, if you are enjoying this stream, if you are enjoying people putting their opinions out there, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. The big push to 10K is on. It's almost there. I can taste it. And guys, feel free to show your support with a super chat. I understand tough time out there, but at least we ask us for you to continue engaging with us in the chat. Now, let's move on to maybe a next talking point. I don't know how this one's going to go. Let's wait and see. Ryan Mason has not ruled out switching to a back 4 in his pre-match press conference for a visit of Palace today. Look, I just simply want to know, is this a recipe for disaster like we saw versus Newcastle, or do you think we should be looking at, what you would say, moving forward, going towards a back 4? And we'll start with you on this one, Mia.
I think a back 4 only works if we had like an Emerson, because I don't really want to have it with a Porro, because I don't think he can't play that very well. Like, he's not good defensively, so I wouldn't change it if I was him. I think he needs to stick to having the 3 at the back, but we could still have 3 in the middle like we did with 2, but I still don't know if that particularly works. So probably not at the moment, because I feel like that the players that we've got aren't defensively sound enough to probably play in a back 4, if I'm honest.
Let me ask you, let me have a bit of a follow-up with you. I get what you're saying, Paul. I don't think many Spurs fans are probably comfortable with him as a right back, especially defensively. But could Mason employ something like what Jose Mourinho done with Aurier, right? Where it's sort of like you get your left back to tuck in and you allow your right back sort of the freedom to get forward without having too much defensive possibility. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I suppose that is a possibility, but I would play Davies on the other side then, because I feel like Davies is the one that he's a more of a defensive player. He's better defensively, so it would have to work like that. So we could do it we could definitely do that, but I don't know if he really wants to risk that, because I feel like today is, all these games are now about confidence, and I feel like that switching it up now would be a bit silly. I feel like that it won't do the team any good if we end up conceding another 6 goals because we played in that formation. So probably I would say, again, you could do it, but I feel like it's probably not the best thing to do.
I hear you. And look, just for the sake of the argument, if we were going to do it, where do you want that extra body? Do you want to put into a 4-3-3? Do you think Ryan Mason should maybe switch back to a 4-2-3-1 and put that extra body as sort of like a cam? Because he did play that for 7 games after Jose Mourinho in 2021. Where would you like to see that extra body being used in further up the pitch?
Joe, it's difficult because we haven't really got someone we could play someone as the cam position, maybe Richarlison or maybe a Kulu, maybe. But again, it's about we're trying to put round pegs in square holes, because then we're trying to make that kind of formation work. If anything, you'd want to obviously I would want it more in the midfield to sort of protect the back a bit more, because you need to do that if you're going to play with the 2 at the back, play it that way. So I think, again, I'm not sure we could do it again. We could and do it and play it like that. But I think that for me, for safety wise, I would want probably in the midfield, but it'd have to be more of a playing it so you had someone further back to protect. But I don't know if that would really work with the midfielders that we have as well. So it's like a bit of a mishmash otherwise with the players that we've got.
Yeah, look, for me, I'd probably stick with the same system formation to the end of the season as well. Was there anyone else out there that would make a case for switching to that back 4 today that maybe disagrees with myself and Mia?
Not if Dorrington's playing.
Sean, would you if Emerson were available and fully fit, let's say, even though he hasn't had game time, would you roll him back in today? And if that meant you could do a back 4, basically, because it's bringing a tear to my eye to see the praise for Emerson all of a sudden again. It's really quite beautiful.
It's amazing, isn't it? You don't know what you've got until it's gone, right? And people it's weird though, isn't it? Because I'll just if you allow me just to drift off the topic for 1 second, I'll bring it back. So under Nagelsmann at Bayern Munich, and Jack, you'll know this, right? He played more of a 3-1-5-1, right? So the 3 centre backs. You have Alphonso Davies bombing up on the left hand side. I forget who his right back or the right back was, but he would tuck in
Pavard
and play more.
Stanisic, I think.
Stanisic, right? And then and then you've got Upamecano and whoever the other guy was next to him, and then you've got Kimmich in front. I could envision Tottenham doing something very similar next season with Emerson Royale, right? And you could then recalibrate Pedro Porro to be one of the guys who rotates with Decky on the right-hand side. You could play Emerson Royale and then insert whoever the centre-back is there. Allow Udogie to play, or Perisic, whoever, to play that high line on the left-hand side. Go and get a monster number 6, whoever that is, right? Go and get your Polina, go and get Ugarte. Put him in there if you can do it. And then you can basically play the exact same formation that Bayern Munich do, because Emerson Royale is a right-back or a right-sided centre-back. And he's one of the best defensive headers of the ball. To me, it makes a whole ton of sense. So next season, if you get Nagelsmann, if you go and get the guy, Johannes Spors, ex-Leipzig, all that stuff, if they can come in and find some sort of relationship there, go and find 2 or 3 players that we need. I get goosebumps at the prospect of thinking about what we could do if you go and identify a couple of those players that we need. As far as today goes, against Palace, look, Palace's defense is shaky. If we can get at them, it's great. However, Elise is one of the most terrifying guys to run at players on the right-hand side. Eze, what he can do is superb. Even Ayew is doing good bits and pieces. So would I play Emerson in today? I don't think he's
you
not
could
even
do a
been
back
training.
four, and you could play, because that's what people think. I think Mia is right. I think if people wanted to play back four, it's more depending on Emerson's fitness.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I don't think Emerson's, as far as I'm aware, I don't think he's been had any training yet. Like I think he's still doing his stretchy elastic band stuff. So
he's only playing FIFA.
Yeah, playing FIFA with Richarlison and beating 10-year-old kids, by the way. Like, what's that about? I know you're footballers, right? Like, but come on. Just absolutely humiliating, fucking doing the pigeon in front of a 12-year-old. Come on, mate.
No. Listen, Sean, you've got to teach these kids. You've got to teach them. I did it with my kids. I don't let them win nothing. When I do races, my mum, I raced my eldest in a race at school, and she's like, "Why didn't you let him win?" I was like, "Because he has to learn to lose."
He has to learn. Yeah, he has to learn.
The best part was when Richarlison, put his arm around the PS5 and said, "This is mine now."
He did. Yeah, it was superb. Absolutely great. Yeah, but to be honest, listen, I've got no problem seeing it later, seeing it in a couple of weeks if Emerson's back, or at least next season under an Nagelsmann system. I look forward to seeing what they come up with, innovate with the squad that we have, and get some new players in. I look forward to it. But for today, no, I think we need to go to a back. It's the first time in my life I've had to say it, but Palace's front three is actually quite terrifying, and so I think you need to put in a back three around them, unfortunately.
Dave, that's a good point. Dave, would you, if you had the opportunity, I think you said, but if Emerson is fully fit, would you play him, tonight? Would you start him? Would you consider back four, maybe even two?
No, look, I was one of them all season long. I understood why we didn't play a back four. We just don't have the personnel to play it. I think if you were to play it, you'd have to have Ben Davies at left back and essentially still play a tree, get him to sort of drift in and allow someone like Pedro Porro to float forward. Because, look, Emerson's not going to play today. He's just not fit. So for me, I think if you do switch to a back four, you have the option of what Jose Mourinho done with Serge Aurier, but he only done it with Serge Aurier because the guy was absolutely useless. He couldn't defend, he couldn't cross the ball, but it's all he had. So he just put him out there and just said, look, just run down the right-hand side, and even when the ball's back there, just don't come back because you're liable to give away a penalty. Jose Mourinho famously said about him, he is liable to give away a shit penalty, and it's the truth. But I think with Pedro Porro, I think you could allow him that license, and I think you'll get a lot out of him going forward. But look, it goes back to the same old problem. If Palace get the ball and they break on that back three, they're going to end up scoring. So for me, I think you just got to stick with the same system until the end of the season. I really do. I think if you were going to try a back four at any stage this season, today would have been ideal. Not against Newcastle, but look, for me, I think Mason has just got to stick it out towards the end of the season, because I think if Mason was going to play a back four, he should have done it already. If he was serious about throwing his name in the ring for the job, he should have switched to a back four. Right now, he looks every bit of an intern because he's just continuing on what Conte done, what Stellini more or less done. I think. Look, we got our answers on a back four against Newcastle. I don't see the benefit to it right now whatsoever.
Yeah,
I just don't. But anyone else want to have a conversation or that, or we move on?
I'm also realizing that I put too much of a hypothetical, because Emerson, it says, won't be available until like maybe next week. It says I read into the day by day thing a little bit too much. I think I thought he was hiding something.
I'd just say that like we can't play four at the back because we ain't got fullbacks. And fullback is the easiest position to play on the pitch.
Well, unless you were to play, you can play Ben Davies. You could put Ben Davies back in there today, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, we could put Davies and Royale there, but they're not what I would call good fullbacks. They're adequate, but they're not specialists at what they do there. And at the moment in our squad, we've got seven wing backs, 7, including Reguilon. I mean, doesn't this
so many? Reguilon, Sessegnon, Perisic,
always the criticism about the majority of these players, not so much Royale or Davies, is that they're not so good defensive, but they're good going forward. But how many of them are actually, if we do go to a back four, are capable of being wingers? Now, like, I think you kind of mentioned this, Sean, like Udogie, I think could be a winger, and Porro could be a winger, but we still need fullbacks. the easiest position, the cheapest position, and we keep fucking it up.
We've wasted, it feels like, a country's GDP, on fullbacks, Paul. At this
Well,
stage.
yeah, we stole one. We stole. Was it Carl Walker?
We got a king's coronation for the amount of money that we've spent on players that are out on loan.
This is the Irish Hotspur. There's no mention of those people down here, Sean.
No politics. No politics.
We could pay for Paul's flight up here.
Irish. Chucky Alar.
But look, we'll move on to the last question. Richarlison finally opened his Premier League account last weekend. Was Kulusevski put in, I would call it, another lackluster performance? Shouldn't Mason give Richarlison the nod today? Does he deserve it?
No.
Build his confidence.
Fuck him. No.
Why?
Because he's a serial shirt swapper, David. I don't like that. He swapped his shirt when we got done by Newcastle, and he swapped his shirt the other weekend. Fuck him.
I hear that. However, that pigeon dance, it made me feel free, Paul. It made me feel good. It made me.
Yeah, for what? For what? It was bollocks.
I need to do it again.
It was bollocks, man. When he was doing that, I thought, no, fuck. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Stop it.
It wasn't. Hold on. It wasn't his fault that we conceded, was it? It wasn't Richarlison's fault that we conceded. So don't blame it on Richarlison, man. That's a bit harsh. Do you not think?
Yeah, no. It is harsh to criticise a player like they've won a match when they haven't.
But if we would have equalised, that's the first time I think in a long time that anyone's come back from a 3-0 deficit at Anfield.
I don't give a fuck. We were losing. He drew level, and he's like, oh yeah, he's giving it all this.
Yeah, because
football club is a cunt, isn't it?
Listen, that wasn't his fault though, Karma. So you want us to lose? So you're like, at the end of the day, I wanted us to draw. I didn't want us to lose. So why are you upset that he was happy that we didn't lose at that point? I don't understand that mentality. That's craziness.
I agree with Mia. 1-1. I agree with Mia. It's 1-1. Mia's leveled it. Mia's leveled it, Paul. You've just conceded, I think. I think
for me it was relief. Like obviously the shirt,
he struck a pose.
the shirt swapping thing is whatever. I don't really give a shit about that after the game. But I can understand why he celebrated the way he did. More just from like personal relief. Like it's been a really difficult season for him. Listen. You'll never find me praising him. Generally speaking, I can't stand. I think we wasted money. I've been saying it all season. I want to be wrong about him. I've been right thus far. I didn't think it was a good move. However, I want him to do well. And if you're someone that's got the pressure on your shoulders from a 60 million price tag, and then you've got injuries that have disrupted your season, and then you've scored goals that have been chalked off and all that stuff, and he's an emotional guy anyway. When he finally gets a goal and it's not ruled out offside and it's to come back from a 3-0, I understand why he was like overblown with emotion in the moment. He probably should have waited. But you know what? You can't control yourself in the second, can you? It's like my dog. When I walk my dog down the road, she's fine. But if I walk her down the main high street, she would normally be absolutely okay. If I took her off the lead, she'd be absolutely okay. But if she saw a fox or a squirrel across the other side of the road, don't matter how much training I put into her, she would not be able to resist. It's like that urge inside of people. And she would be over, she'd be run over. I think she'd swap coats if she had a chance to. Yeah, I think she's she's quite that sort of dog. But no, look, I just think that like sometimes you have the urge inside of you, and in the moment, like he scored his goal. It was a brilliant goal. Well, it wasn't a brilliant goal from him, but it was a brilliant moment for the team and for him to get that kind of monkey off his back. I understand it.
I really liked his celebration though, where he even, what did he use the Liverpool steward, to lift himself onto, the advertisement board, which I thought was even more brilliant, as well. I thought the way he celebrated for the crowd was like Vardy was probably even jealous.
I went crazy at home. Obviously, you guys were on the watch along and went crazy. Like, it's just a natural thing. Like, when you score to equalise at Anfield, when I thought we were going to be absolutely pummeled, I can't help myself. Like, I love that moment. It's a bit like any kind of good moment when we came back from the win and from other games and we've equalised. It's been that same. Sometimes it's just like that relief of we've come back, you know. And yeah, it's not great, but I just think, leave him alone, man. Leave him alone. Do you know what?
I was sitting there, the game was last Sunday. I was sitting there Sunday evening, right? I was so down about the result. And I was just started thinking, I was like, only football, like, we really do have the greatest sport on earth, because only football can make full-grown adults walk around doing pigeon dancing. You know? I was in hysterics about it for about an hour. I was like, it's such a beautiful game.
We got clipped. We got clipped by Football Terrace. Look at these three. Look at the three of them. They're fucking pigeons.
You know without even telling each other as well.
Look like absolute fucking idiots. I'm 39 years old. I'm doing this.
Look at all these comments saying Dorrington in. There's a movement. Get Dorrington in.
Stevie has started the movement. Pick up Stevie.
But look, when it comes to Richie, for me, and then we'll go around the houses and get score predictions and plug some channels. For me, I think, look, with Kulu, he's been underwhelming of late. And believe me, I fucking love Kulu. I really like what he's about. I think there's a superb player in there. But at sort of Kulu's age, 22, 23, I think, you know, when you do see the discrepancy in the performances, I do think at that sort of age, you've got to take them out and let them know that you've got to do it on a consistent basis. So for me, I would actually look to maybe start with Richarlison today and see what he can do. Because let's be honest, Palace are a physical team, very physical team. And you've got an absolute shithouse in Richarlison who loves getting physical. So let's wait and see what happens. But look, let's go around the houses. Let's get some score predictions. Everybody, if you have enjoyed today's show, you've enjoyed the laugh, the conversation, the heated debates, make sure you smash that like button. Let's smash that subscribe button. And why not thank us with a super chat or two. But look, we'll go around the houses. We'll start with Mia. Mia, what's your score prediction and what's coming up on the channel?
I predicted 3-1. We haven't lost since 2016 to Palace at home. So I think that obviously bodes quite well for us, maybe. I have done my own review of that preview of the show, so of the game. So if you want to go over, give that a watch, give it a like, I would be very grateful. If you don't know, then give your head a wobble. Back to you, Dave.
Mia's version of Alex THFC. If you don't know, you better give yourself a wobble.
So this obviously isn't Alex because the currency is from Norway. I'm sensing it might be a Daniel Larson or something like that. Let's wait and see. But it's from Mr. Potts' office, and it says, "Appreciate the nuanced views. Back to you, Sava." Absolutely quality. Do you know what? I love the shithousery of Spurs fans as well, or just football fans in general. I love it. Absolutely.
Give your head a wobble. Back to you, Dave.
Back to you in the show to dig yourself another hole about Dorrington.
Dig yourself another hole, Dave.
I don't dig holes, Sean. You know, I'm the one that pulls people out of them, my man.
Filling the holes.
Yeah, I'm the rescuer. I'm filling holes. That's what I do. That's why I want Dorrington to fill in the hole that Dyer leaves every week.
Listen, you're going to get clipped up saying you fill holes, Dave. Be careful what you say on the internet, man.
Oh, look, it's true, Mia. You ask people around where I live, they all know it's true. But look, everybody, please do get over to Spurs Between the Lines. Make sure you get over, check it out. If you want a bit of content between now and our watch along, get over and check Mia's pre-show or pre-match view towards it. So that's Spurs Between the Lines. Click on the link, get over there, smash the subscribe. Shawnee, score prediction on what's on the channel, my man.
Score prediction is 3-2 to Tottenham. I have just put a big bet on the goals. I've gone for over 2.5 goals. I'm confident there's going to be over 3.5 goals, but I got evens on over 2.5 goals. So if we get 3 goals, then I'm in the money, and that's where my wager's gone today. You can get, I think you can get 50. I've also had 50-1, 3-3, just on the outside chances a 3-all draw. I got 50-1 on that. So I had a couple of quid there, little cheeky couple of quid. That's my bets of the day. And you can find me at Spurs Talk Show and what is happening over there. As of next Friday, and so 6 days' time, I'm starting a regular weekly evening slot. And I'm going to getting regular people in. It's not going to be the same 4 or 5 people every week, but I'm going to get a panel of a WhatsApp group of 15 people who want to be a part of it, and then they can jump in or out regularly. So that'll be cool. And apart from that, I'm also currently building a bit of a detailed analysis of some of the things that are going on behind the scenes. Like I'm doing a big one on that 777 Partners, the sports investment company that Johan Spores is a part of. They're fascinating to look into as well. They've got investments in so many different things. So I'm going to be doing something about that. If you're interested, keep a lookout for that. That'll be out next week. Thanks for having me, boys. It's been a good, and girls, it's been a good fun debate this morning.
Are you back for the watch along?
Yeah, of course.
Love it. Do you know what? Speaking of that 7-7 Partners, I've seen it pop up with that guy Spores. You know, you're on the research ahead of me, Sean. That was going to be what I was going to do tonight. Sit there and read about them. So I don't need to now. I'll just wait for your video. Let me know when it's out, my man. Love that. Everybody, get over and check out Spurs Talk Show. A lot of detailed, videos there over the years, especially to do with finances. And other things that, look, perspectives that other channels maybe aren't doing. So get over there and smash the subscribe on Spurs Talk Show.
And flip-flops. Don't forget the flip-flops.
Flip-flops and flat caps.
I go to the Spurs game next year. You see so many people walk along with flip-flops and flat caps. Now, whether they have anything on between them, that's up to them. But I think that'll be the new style.
In the UK today, not only is it the King's coronation, and not only is it a Tottenham game, it's also the annual naked gardening day. So all over Twitter, there's people that are out doing their bits and pieces with all their bits and pieces hanging out. And a lot of them are wearing flip-flops, but not many of them are wearing flat caps. So it's an interesting day for many people.
I'll have to start a trend. I'll have to start pulling up the pictures and be like, where's the flat cap? But look, it's probably good that, I don't have a garden, Sean, because I'm sure, I don't think my neighbours want to see me out there doing naked gardening. But look, big up, Matthew, really big donation here. He says, love from India, my man. I really do appreciate that, brother. Really goes a long way to everything that we try and do here, all the research that we put in and the shows that we do provide. So it really does go a long way to helping with that. So big yourself up, Matthew. Whereabouts in India, though? Let me know, Let me know. We've got a few people that like the channel that are from India, so do let us know whereabouts you're from, and keep coming with that nice food that you provide, my man. It's absolutely unbelievable. I love a cheeky Indian, so I do, but I'm not as adventurous. I'm a bit more of a korma man, to be honest. But let me know if you're one of them spicy ones, or whether you like ones made out of coconut milk where it's a little bit less spicy. Big yourself up, Matthew. Honestly, I should start a food channel.
Got him talking about the food, and well done, Matthew. You got Dave on his the outlet will be in the chat. The outlet will be in the chat here, Matthew. Big yourself up, my man. Really do appreciate it. But yeah, you got Dave talking about the food. Well done to you.
Honestly, my outlet gives out to me. He's like, Jesus Christ, lads, you're going to explode one of these days. But look, enough of me, enough about food, because I'm just making myself hungry. Paul, what's your score prediction, my man? And maybe if you want to give your band a little plug.
Well, I was a bit pessimistic when I came in here, but you've built me up. So I'm going for, I reckon, 6-0. 6-0. It's been a while since we thumped a team, and I think the team is due a thumping. Crystal Palace have never, ever worried us. I remember, I think it was an FA Cup game where we played them, and Gary O'Reilly, one of our ex-players, scored the best diving header own goal you've ever fucking seen. And I think we're just going to smash them 6-0. That's it.
Love it.
I love that. And what do you want to give your band a plug?
Yeah, what are we plugging, Paul? Are we plugging anything?
It's too hard to pronounce, and yeah.
30 seconds on Ange Postecoglou. Go.
Look, well, you know what? He's going to become King of Scotland soon. He's going to win a treble or close to it. I kind of think he has got good ambitions with Celtic in Europe, though. I think Celtic could become quite a European force under his control. So I think we might have let the Ange big fish go from our Greek trawling nets, and we'll end up with like fucking Potter. That's what it's going to be. Fucking Potter, isn't it?
I don't want that guy. I do not want that guy whatsoever.
You know it's going to happen. It's going to be fucking Potter.
Don't do it to me, Paul. Don't put the jinx out there. Steve D, make sure you got to go with the trend today. It's got to be done naked, so make sure you follow the trend, my man. Jacko, what's your score prediction?
I wish El Messi was available today. He put in a masterclass last time at Selhurst Park. Joel Ward is still looking for him over there in South London. I find probably could be, I think Sean at one stage said it could be a bit high scoring. I could see it being like a 3-2. I could see it being I'm going to say a 3-2. I'm going to say we win 3-2.
4-2. Come on, Jack. 4-2.
We could easily get to 4 this time. Let's go for it, Paul. Let's go for the 4-2. We get the convincing second one, maybe 80th minute, and then we can sort of rest easy. But then maybe it ends 4-3 with an Eric Dyer own goal, sort of Newcastle style. But I would say Crystal Palace, where I'm most fearful, is Eberiche, Elise. That front line, like Sean said, is very frightening. I think some of their defenders are, not bad, to be honest, but they are capable of conceding. They have conceded fewer goals than we have, which is, again, shocking. They've conceded actually 12 fewer than we have. I'd say we usually handle them quite well, but I am a bit worried about that front line coming up against our defenders because they're all very good on the ball with the way they kind of take on players one-on-one. But I'm going to say 4-2, Dave. Sticking with that. And then
we'll do them 6-0. Come on, Jack. Being scared of it. Scared of that.
I had eagle for breakfast. Dave, just also as well done too on the questions today, because I feel like everybody, like I said, every single opinion I feel like was represented on every question. It was like, nobody could ever complain of narratives or echo chambers, or anything like that. It was well done, Dave. It was good to hear. It was good to hear every perspective.
Like I said, I actually think they were the worst bunch of questions I put together over the course of the build-ups. I actually just think I got lucky that everyone sort of has strong opinions on it. Got very, very lucky there. Not down to my own genius, although sometimes I do like to take credit. Today is not one of them days. But look, for me, everybody, I am going to go Tottenham. I'm going to go 4-1 today. I'm feeling confident. I don't see Palace causing us too many problems. Famous last words, as people out there say. I hope that doesn't come back to haunt me. But look, regardless of whether Tottenham are bad or good, we sort of always tend to beat Palace. And my God, do I want some barbecued eagle today. So for me, I am going to go 4-1. But look, that's it from me. I do have to head off over to We Are Tottenham TV to do a pre-match pump up. So if you're not already pumped up and you want more, follow me over there. But most importantly, guys, we are back here for the watch along starting at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. Make sure you get back here and join us for that. Paul, do you want to say something before we end off?
No, I'm just looking forward to the match, man. Let's go. Let's fucking do them. Come on, you Spurs.
Guys, I know times are tough out there. We're going through a bit of a barren spell with Tottenham at the minute. But look, hopefully we can enjoy the game today and get 3 points. As always, come on, you Spurs. In the Irish Hotspur, we trust.
Yeah, in the fans, we
trust.
In the fans, we trust.
Give your head a wobble.
Yeah, not give your head a wobble.
Everywhere we go.